was really, really good. I think a lot of people would say that it was great. Really fun game. And when they announced the fall, people were very, very confused as to why they did, because it would have perhaps made more sense to just make it another standalone expansion, like they did with the Missing Link, which was also very, very good. Use your existing engine, use your existing assets. If you want to do a little bit of a kind of episodic prequel, do it that way. That way makes perfect sense. But they decided, you know what we need? We need to bring Deus Ex to iPad, because that, ladies and gentlemen, is where a true audience lies. And they eventually, after a lot of complaining, ported it to PC. And if this is not an example of be careful what you wish for, I don't know what is. Holy fuckballs. This port is just awful in every way.
Not worth $9.99, DB?
Not even fucking close.
Is that how much it is?
Yeah, it's $10. So it's about double the
over
price.
it.
Yeah, double the price of the iPad. Actually, probably even more than that, considering the amount of sales that has.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, that's par for the course on Steam right now. It's where iPhone games go to charge double or triple the cost. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm running out of words to describe what Steam is doing lately, or rather not doing, which is employing some sort of quality control, some sort of boundary, some sort of measure of guarantee that the stuff that goes out is. I mean, did you see the reporting thing they have? They're proposing this new way of users to report, content with such items as fraud and child exploitation. If Valve's not checking its own store for kiddie porn, what's it doing?
What a perfect time for Jess's camera to turn back on. Holy crap. That was...
Someone mentioned kiddie porn?
Oh.
Yeah, hold on. I think I'm over here typing away, looking up kiddie... what?
Jesus Christ. Oh, apparently this is what happens when we don't have Dodger on the show.
No,
but...
I just tweeted out the podcast was live, and I realized that's probably what did it. It was like, oh, now it's live.
Yeah, that kicked it on or whatever. But here's the thing about the reporting system is this proposed reporting system is it's ludicrous because Valve has already very clearly shown that they don't want users to mark games in a negative way. They have banned a lot of very useful tags, such as bad port or mobile port or mobile game. They've banned those tags. You can't use them anymore. It's now got to the point where, if I go to Deus Ex The Fall, let's see if somehow some useful tags have slipped through the net. Because right now, what have we got? Cyberpunk Stealth RPG single player. All of those, some degree, kind of useful, right? I'll get that. But there is not a single mention in any of the tags that this is a really, really bad port. And when the things first came out, there were a lot of useful tags that you could add which would indicate the quality of the port or something that was wrong with it. Like, say... mouse acceleration, like locked mouse acceleration, or no key rebinding. These are useful tags, I feel, and Valve basically gutted all of them and said, we don't want you using those anymore. I mean, they even got rid of a lot of the jokey tags. They got rid of Nanomachine, son, for God's sake.
Oh, that was the best one.
Yeah, you can't use...
What's the point of giving players agency if you then dictate?
Take it away.
And it's the only thing they're enforcing. It's like all this time you're spending enforcing the quality of your tags. Why aren't you looking at the quality of the shit you're selling?
I'm looking on Steam right now, and today we got The Wonders of Desert Gunner that came out on December 31st, 2006. It is actually a turret game. That is it. One of the features is unlimited firepower and unlimited ammo. That's a feature. That's a fucking feature. It is absolute garbage. The developer...
The worst part is you can't tell the new stuff from the old stuff anymore.
You can't, no.
If you've played Dark Shadows, Army of Evil, it looks like it was made in 1999. It was released last week. And then stuff like what really hammered it home was when Summoner was released on Steam.
Yeah,
a
2006 title, right?
Yeah, I think it's like 2001.
Oh, really? It's that old? Holy
really
shit.
old, that one. Yeah. And I saw it and forgot I've played Summoner back in the day, but I kind of forgotten. And I clicked on it idly, not seeing the title, and saw the graphics come up, and I said, oh, look, another fucking shit game from some god-awful part of the world. Who knows when that one was out? Oh, shit, it's Summoner. And yet it looked graphically like Dark Shadows Army of Evil, except, well, better. games from 2001 are coming out on Steam looking better than games that were released yesterday.
Yeah.
And you can't tell the difference anymore, except, as someone on Twitter pointed out, the ones released in 2001 are at least playable.
Yeah, exactly. And let's be honest, like, Summoner's a really, really great game. But it gets thrown out there with a bunch of dreck. And you want to talk about dreck? We talk about Clans. Okay, so Clans came out.
Do it.
Yeah, this came out in 1999. So this game is fucking ancient. 15 years old, okay? And this is... You're going to love this, all right? So the first screenshot that they show, is one that says, please insert the Clans CD. This is an official screenshot, okay? So that's a joke in and of itself. But if you scroll down the list on the About Game section, it tells you a bit about the game, and then it says, this is a old school, and they spelt it with an E for old, by the way. Older school, because...
Ye oldie school.
Indeed. Forsooth, verily, this
Here
be...
dragons.
This be Diablo. Back in the days when games were run with the CD inserted, the interesting feature of this particular game, apparently this is the interesting feature, guys, is that the contents of the original CD contained only the music for the game. What this means is that you can put any music CD into your CD player and the game will play it. If you don't want to have music playing, simply hit cancel and the game will launch. Have fun. The original CD audio has been added to the game files. If you want to hear the original soundtrack, you will have to navigate to the Steam directory where the game files for Clans reside. You will find a folder called Clans Music, and the audio files are in there. And get this. Then you will have to burn an audio CD and put it into your CD drive.
Wait, what is the point? What is the point of any of that?
Well, it's because they decided, you know what we're going to do? We're going to release a 15-year-old fucking game on Steam, and because we're not GOG and actually give a shit, we're just going to put it out there and say, you know what you can do? You could burn an audio CD and put it into your CD drive that you don't fucking have anymore.
CD drive, I'll do that. I'll tell you what, though, first I've got to get on my fucking space hopper and get a drink from my soda stream, and then go to Miami Beach and buy some cocaine, because it's the olden times now.
Sorry, Jim, I'm far too busy installing Skype off 37 floppy disks that I just happen to have here. I'm on disk 20 right now. This is going well.
Hey guys, have you heard of Doom? It's this hot new shareware game that everyone's talking about. It runs on my Windows 93.
God, I'm fucking sick of the fanboy wars between Betamax and VHS. Can you just get the fuck off? They're both useful formats in their own way.
What is your guys' AIM name? How do I get you on AOL? Is there a way to get that?
Oh, what the fuck are you doing on AIM, man? Seriously, I only use ICQ. It's the most secure.
Oh, yeah.
Can you guys shut up? I'm being very, very busy concentrating on how amazing it is that these phones have buttons and not rotary dialers anymore.
Oh, we're going to have to pause the podcast. I think I'm getting a phone call, so I'm going to have to shut my internet down. Be right back.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, you're fucking right, Steam is a goddamn mess. And it's a mess for so many different reasons. You know, the funny thing about Deus Ex The Fall is, of course, that is I wouldn't say it's a new game, it is a remake, it's not even a remake, it's a port of a mobile game that came out last year, yeah? And that's just, I mean, it's just awful. And I have a lot of reasons for saying that it's awful, and I'll happily go into all of them.
And it's par for the course. I mean, most of the games going on Steam lately are mobile stuff. Stuff I've not even heard of, and I'll play it, say, on YouTube or whatever, and then I'll find out afterwards that, no, this isn't a new game. This is some old mobile fucking game.
Yeah. You know, I got tricked into Sledgehammer/Gear Grinder, which was a weird one. They put both the game names in there. Gear Grinder was apparently the name when they released it previously. Yeah, this is the weird thing. They released it previously in Europe and the US as Gear Grinder in 2008. It was released as Sledgehammer in Russia. They left the Sledgehammer logo on the Steam page, but in the game, they have the Gear Grinder splash screens and call it Gear Grinder. And it's fucking confusing because good luck finding information on it. And the only reason I realized that it was an old game is because there's that tiny little piece of text when you click the store page, which will tell you the original release date. But only, by the way, only if it's like... if it's still the original version. If it's anything like Deus Ex The Fall, then of course they'll say that it's a brand new game, even though it's a year-old port, or even any kind of remake of some description. They're going to say it's a new game. And, oh god, this is like the lowest point I've ever seen for Steam, like in recent memory at any rate.
It is at its lowest ebb. I mean, between the mobile ports and just the broken stuff that isn't even in early access.
Storm of Vengeance? Shit like that?
God, the fucking... I don't even know what that was. I don't know what that was.
At least it worked. Game... I mean, you give him credit for that, you know.
True. There was that Black Soul that recently released as a full game, and then everyone said, but this is shit. And so they then surreptitiously changed it to early access.
Whoa, this is even weirder now because the early access splash isn't on there, but the big blue thing that says still working on the game, here's some updates, that's there. Like,
yeah. Apparently, I didn't see it until they'd already changed to early access, but I saw this on RelyOnHorror.com, and they were mentioning how when it first went up, it wasn't an early access game.
Yeah.
And then once they realized they'd been rumbled and the game was clearly broken and unfinished, then the early access tag appeared on it. Don't get it, it's dreadful.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Steam probably stripped the early access tag back off it again.
Well, yeah, maybe. But yeah, that's just the kind of shit you can do, at least until Valve gets enough pressure to do something about it.
Yeah. Do you guys think that eventually this will sort of free market itself out of existence? Because you got to figure the backlash eventually will get
getting people off Steam. Good luck. Your library's there now. I warned against this years ago. Fucking years ago. Steam's dominance would eventually lead us to a point where Valve would do shit that you didn't like. And nobody fucking believed me because Gaben is God and Glorious Valve and TF2 hats. You know, all of these things.
But I'm not talking about leaving Steam. I don't think anyone, like, once you're invested into...
Well, how's the free market going to resolve it then? If people people keep giving money to Steam, it's not going to, then nothing's going to be solved.
Well, I'm talking about developer end, where eventually people are going to see that releasing stuff early, just because
you're talking about like
cash grab. Yeah,
you're talking about
like,
the developers actually deciding to release games that are complete for a change.
Yes. Eventually, I feel like we'll swing back that direction. I hope, because...
Well, the trouble is, I mean, you've got like the App Store and stuff, which is just as liable to get a load of shit. But usually user reviews and ratings and stuff will, most of the time get rid of any of the bad clones, bad ports and stuff. When you hear stuff like Steam's squashing useful tags and stuff, that doesn't bode well. It makes me worry about exactly how much free market is going to be allowed to happen on Steam. So, I don't know. I'd like to think that eventually it will even out. I know Valve's obviously looking at getting rid of the whole Greenlight thing. I know some members of them aren't too happy with how that went. But at the end of the day, a lot of the worst shit's not coming from Greenlight or even early access.
It's just coming out.
Yeah, if you are any kind of publisher of note, you seem to get a free pass. I talked about this a few weeks ago on the Jimquisition. And yeah, like 4A games. No, not 4A games. 505.
505, yeah.
Yeah, 4A are all right. 505 games are terrible for this. They will, they released a Takedown Red Sabre. They did what was that, Recoil?
They did Recoil as well, which, to be fair, since your video has got a lot better, I'll give them credit for that, but on launch it was a mess. Yeah,
just unplayable shit. But because they're a publisher, because they've got that credibility, they seem to just get a free pass. The velvet rope just opens up right for them. Meanwhile, before Greenlight, say, you had guys like Renegade Kid trying to get Mutant Muds on there and couldn't. Because they were an indie developer, they had no chance. And that's a quality game. It was already released on other systems. It had proven itself. And that was around the same time Revelations 2012 just waltzed onto the Steam storefront without a second glance from Valve. So.
Yeah, because it was running in the Source engine, so apparently that's okay. It's weird that we're saying this now because back when the Paranormal Activity controversy hit, when they were basically denied coming onto Steam and told they had to go through Greenlight, even though they had a publisher in the form of Adult Swim, I was saying, look, if a publisher is willing to vouch for them, then as far as I'm concerned, that should be enough to get you past Greenlight. The problem is now we're in this weird situation where Greenlight still exists, and yet all these games are coming out anyway. Strategy First is responsible for basically these games that have come out over the last couple of weeks. Clans, the game I just talked about, Strategy First. Orb, which is a really, really old strategy game. Us and Them, Desert Gunner, that fucking turret game with unlimited firepower and ammo. That's Strategy First. And, in fact, Strategy First has released very few good titles on Steam. They put out Deep Black Reloaded, which was an awful third-person shooter. Yeah, they made Fireburst, which was a shitty action racing game. They even published the one bad Flat-Out game, like Flat-Out 3 Chaos and Destruction.
It makes me feel like we need a system where we vote for the actual sellers, like eBay or something, where we actually look at the sellers like Strategy First and 505 Games, and they get a rating and a trustworthy rating. And, there's some sort of punishment for that, if you are like strategy person, you just release all this drivel at once, you get downvoted enough, then your stuff doesn't get on the featured items list on the Steam front page.
Yeah, and I think
there's got to be a way to do that.
That front page is the biggest priority because being on the new releases list shows a statistically provable spike in people buying your game. And the problem is right now they're releasing so many titles. Today of recording is March the 18th, right? We have had more than half of the front page already is titles that were released on March the 18th. But in reality, Crunch is Crunch new? I can't tell because Steam is breaking again, which is lovely. It's been doing a lot of that lately. But I can't really assume whether or not Crunch is new. But things like that Desert Turret Gunner thing, that's not new. There's, Deus Ex The Fall technically is, but there's a bunch of games on the front page that are old titles. And this continues to have Us and Them is not new. Desert Gunner is not new. Danmacher Unlimited 2, I couldn't tell you because I don't know much about Japanese shmups. Line of Defense Tactics is a port of a mobile game that I think came out either 1 or 2 years ago. Doctor Who The Adventure games, those are not new at all. In fact, they came out, 4 or 5 years ago, I think? Maybe? Because the BBC made them, I think. Oh, I got them developed by Sumo Digital, that explains a lot. But yeah, they came out in 2011. So most of the games on new releases are not actually new releases. And Crunch apparently is from 2012.
When it comes to Greenlight, it's pretty. This may not be what happened at all, but it seems fairly obvious that what occurred was that they were very selective about what they let through, and then it appeared that it was on the whim of whoever was letting stuff through, and then there was a backlog and more stuff wasn't getting through, and there was all these different things, and then they said, F it, open the floodgates. If people are going to complain, let everything through. And now they do it at 100 at a time. And of those 100 at a time or whatever they let through, 70, maybe 80% are garbage.
Yeah, like they're caught between two extremes. They had a very dictatorial, sort of tightly controlled, overly controlled system before, where they would, allow certain people in and certain others were not allowed in. And then they opened the floodgates and went to the other end of the spectrum. Somewhere there's a middle ground where this works. A lot of people get angry at me when I say Steam needs quality control because they think I want to throw back to the dictatorial days. I don't. There's middle ground somewhere. There's got to be some basic assurances. Some basic assurances that the game will work. Some basic assurances that the game you're buying wasn't stolen from another developer and is being sold by someone else, which happened quite recently.
Well, are we talking about Motor Rock, or was that something
not
else?
Motor Rock. There was, I can't even remember what they were called. I saved it because it happened on the day I argued that Steam needed quality control and a bunch of people told me it didn't. And then it turned out it did, and that was the best day of my life.
I can't believe that people would argue against it. Like, here's
there
the
was
thing.
Some indie game, basically, that they had a build for Steam that they were working on, but another publisher owned the rights to some DS version, and they put that up without telling them.
Whoa,
and then they had to go around and tell everyone, look, we didn't approve of this. Legally, they can't do that. And then they had to get Valve to take it down. And this was, again, on the day everyone was having a big hoo-ha-ha because I said Steam needs quality control, and everyone said, no, it doesn't. And then Valve had to employ quality control to get a stolen game down from Steam. Game, set, match. Jim in the back of the net. Thank you.
Well, I think something that is needed, and you're absolutely right. They need quality control. And the middle ground between very restrictive and letting everyone through is having a lot of people, 1, spend a lot of time, 2, doing a lot of work, 3. And I don't think Steam's willing to do that. I don't think they're willing to go that far.
Valve is not willing to do that at all. And they've demonstrated that repeatedly. Because, yes, these problems could be solved by internal curation, but they're like, we ain't got time for that. We ain't got staff for that. Really? Because last I checked, you were swimming in cash from the 30% cut that you get from the largest PC retailer. Right? I mean, you might as well be a monopoly at this point. Because there's a lot of people that will say, oh, it's not on Steam, then I ain't fucking buying it. And more to the point, games will not sell very well unless they are on Steam. So you may not have an actual monopoly, but you have an effective monopoly at this point.
More or less, yeah. Personally, I really do just default to good old games more or less these days. If it's an old game especially. I mean, Valve selling all these stuff from 2001, 2005 and before, I don't want to get it from Valve because I've got no guarantee it'll work. Or if it does, whether I'm going to have to spend half an hour looking up the relevant fixes and installations and mods to get it working. Whereas I go on to GOG, bish bash bosh, they've done that minimum amount of quality control.
Yeah.
That's another argument I don't get. People say, oh, well, Valve can't put any kind of assurances in because that'll cost money and make the games more expensive. But that's what
GOG
Good Old Games does. And they're selling stuff. I mean, their sales are just as ridiculous as Valve's when it comes to low prices. So they're making it work. I actually spoke to them recently, and they were like, it's not that terrible.
Hard.
It's not that expensive. It doesn't take up that much time to get these assurances. Obviously, there is a cost involved, but it's clearly worth it.
Yeah, and I would say that GOG's library is of average higher quality, much higher quality than what Steam currently has. Almost every game on GOG is good in some way. Some are better than others. Some are absolute fucking classics. Some are maybe average, but they're all playable. They're all decent. Like, you're not going to find a game on GOG because that absolutely sucks, because they just don't bother publishing it on their store if it does. If you're going to go to New and Coming, see what's there. You got Luftrausers, which is great. Braveland, which apparently is pretty good. Journey of the Roach, which is pretty good. Rex Nebula and the Cosmic Genderbender. 1954 Alcatraz, Windforge, Harvester, Age of Wonders 3, Ether 1. All of these games are actually at least good in some way, although I wouldn't recommend playing Harvester, but it's at least it's a weird game. That's a game that it has history for whatever reason. But the amount of good quality stuff on GOG is ridiculous. And it's because they actually bother to curate.
Yeah,
and because, like I said, they give a shit.
I got a statement from them, which I was going to do something with, but I never got round to it. I haven't found a good way to use it yet. But this is as good a place as any, because I spoke to Good Old Games shortly after I was talking about Steam's quality assurance to find out why they do it, how they do it, and everything. I'll just read off what they told me. They say, this is them. The way GOG approaches customer service is fundamentally different than any other digital download service out there, to our knowledge. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They, everything that they put out, they test on their own QA lab.
Yep.
There is no question that the overhead of QA adds to cost. We got started with classic games. There was no one to turn to if there were problems with release, so there are certain expectations for what's delivered to a customer. Back in the day, when you went to your local computer shop, you could generally trust that anything that the guy behind the counter sold you would work pretty well, or that you'd be able to return it. And basically, that's what they try and do, which is kind of important if we want to move towards a digital future. People want that trust and security.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do it because that's the way people expect to be treated. If they treat your customers well and back them up, especially with like money-back guarantees and quality guarantees, they say they turn their customers into fans that way. And I have to wonder whether Steam will eventually sort of turn more people away from them and go to companies like GOG that are treating their customers, or trying to turn their customers into fans,
Maybe.
I mean, they told me a lot, but I'll be here reading it all day. But that's the basic thing, is it does cost money, but they're clearly benefiting from it. There's an actual financial gain, because you spend the money on the QA, people want to come back and buy more of your stuff.
Yeah, we lost Jesse again, but we'll get him back in a moment. Someone in the chat said that there's a lot more software on Steam, so you can't do the comparison. I beg to differ. As of 2014, there are over 3,000 games available on Steam. On GOG, there are 715. That's not that large a difference, considering the amount of money that's being made by Valve and the size of staff Valve could have to deal with this, versus CD Projekt is not a lot of people running Steam. Running GOG, in fact. The staff is not huge.
The library is obviously scaled up between Steam and
of course,
GOG, but as you say, so is the stuff. So is the money.
It's not by orders of magnitude, is it? There's not. In the grand scheme of things, when you compare the two, 715 to over 3,000, that's not that big a difference when you think about the amount of money Valve is actually making. And the amount of care and attention that GOG actually put into their games to make them run properly, to give you the extras, to make sure that all of the up-to-date patches are there, and also to release good indie games. There aren't that many bad indie games on there. There's certainly no unfinished ones. That's one thing I can definitely say for sure.
I mean, at the end of the day, Joseph Stalin killed a lot more people than Ted Bundy. But Stalin had a lot more to work with. He had an army. He had dictatorial power. Cut Ted Bundy some slack. He's doing his best.
Heard it here, folks. Cut Ted Bundy some slack. Get off his back. Get off Ted Bundy's
Is he coming back at the right time?
Stop riding Ted Bundy.
So, like, what I would want to see from Steam, and someone pointed this out in the chat that I think it's accurate, you've got to be careful with content curation because taste is subjective. I absolutely agree, yeah? One man's garbage is another man's game of the year in certain respects, but I think there is a line to be drawn when it comes to the completeness of the title and whether or not it fucking works properly. This is a PC exclusive platform, and yes, you can get some Mac and Linux support in there as well, but primarily Windows PC. There should be a minimum set of standards that is enforced on every single game that ends up on Steam. And that is a set of standards that can actually be tested fairly easily. And it is objective as well. It's not subjective. And if that isn't happening, Steam should be going back to those people and saying, your port's a piece of shit. It doesn't run properly. So either you fix this, or you're not coming on our store. And that's what I would like from them. I don't mind if bad games get on Steam. That's actually fine. What I do mind is that games which are basically either bait and switch or flat out scams, either due to feature incompleteness or content incompleteness. And so much of that is getting in there. And after that, I would also like to see them not putting old games up on the new releases section. How hard can that be? How hard can it be to have a separate list for that? You can have a see all games, and the default should be actual new releases.
Yeah,
actual new games.
This isn't a taste issue. This isn't a subjectivity issue.
Yeah, you can do subjectively.
Like, bad games are bad games. Every system has them. Every system's gonna have them.
Totally, yeah.
But it is about even if you just stick to the most extreme cases, and that's the problem. There are so many actively extreme cases on Steam right now.
Yeah.
But even if you just focus on the extreme ones, the ones that are stolen from other companies, the ones that are broken, the ones that launch in an unplayable state, we just need some basic assurances. You can't guarantee me the game's going to be good or that I'm going to like the game. Guarantee me that if I click play, it will play. Can you do that? That should be a guarantee across the board.
And Valve isn't... Sorry, Jesse, go ahead.
No, I can't speak on games not playing, but when it comes to the actual, new releases, it almost seems like a follow the money sort of thing, where if I'm a company and I am saying, I want my game on your, Steam, for example, if I have a large collection of games that are old, I'm going to want those there so people can buy them. And I'm not going to let Steam throw my game into, a subcategory. I feel like that wouldn't work.
The thing is, people like Strategy First don't have the fucking clout to tell Valve to do that.
But Valve needs people like that, because lately, when it comes to AAA titles or big games, they have slowly been lacking in those being there. And so now we have
because of Origin exclusive and Ubisoft.
Things. And so they have less to work with, and so now it gives the illusion holy crap, they're still making 20 games a day over on Steam.
I don't know if there's enough of that to warrant it though. Lately, EA has still been releasing some games on Steam. Ubisoft has been releasing games on Steam, and recently South Park would be a prime example of that. That could have been a Uplay exclusive very easily and would probably done very, very well. But they didn't. They didn't make it a Uplay exclusive. And these companies are still, for the most part, releasing their games on Steam. And EA and Blizzard are probably the only two that aren't. Are actively not releasing their games on Steam and releasing them on their own platforms. And Blizzard doesn't make enough games for that to actually matter. EA obviously is EA, and we're not going to be able to deal with that. But I think that you do harm your own service if you saturate it with absolute shit. And
people... When I did my video on Steam's quality control, people thought I was just trying to protect stupid customers who made bad decisions.
Oh, I hate that attitude.
That classic caveat emptor argument that there's a whole mess of problems with that argument.
It's lovely, being from Britain, a country that abandoned caveat emptor in the early 1900s. We don't accept that shit.
Yeah.
And by the way, neither does America, even if they claim they do. You have more warning labels on your shit than any other country on the planet. You don't accept caveat emptor either. So don't push that argument.
Yeah.
Although you guys are sick. Your entire country's sick. On the way up to San Francisco on Virgin, I was watching a show called Golden Balls or Gold Balls. That is a British show.
That sounds right.
In which it's a competition, but at the end there's a prisoner's dilemma where it's two people fighting for the remainder of the money, and they sit across from each other, and there are two balls in front of them, and the other person can't see what those two balls are. Yeah, and the guy's like, one of you can either choose to split the money, or you can secretly choose to take all the money. But if you both choose to take all the money, you get no money, right? So the idea is you're just trying to screw someone else. That's the whole purpose of the. I was like, this is twisted.
Yeah, but you've been eating cold French fries, so we're even.
He has a point. You can't argue with that. Oh God.
Oh
blasphemy.
But the point.
They're still cold.
Scourge the heretic.
The pre-Golden Balls point I was making was when I do videos on this kind of stuff, it's not just for consumer advocacy. That's half of it. The other half is it's for the company's own benefit, the industry's own benefit. The industry adopts a Cabot Emptor attitude. That's a very short-sighted business model. It's one that consumer goodwill is not an infinite resource.
Nope.
People seem to think it is, because sometimes it can take a very long time for a market to destabilize. It certainly can, but that doesn't mean it will last that way forever. And it's in Steam's best interest to have quality control up there as much as the customers, because I'm sorry, but creating bad blood between yourself and the customers, making people buy bad products, well, not making, but, having people buy a bad product from your service, whether it's the customer's fault or not, it's going to reflect badly on you. So it really is in Steam's best interest here.
Yeah, and I mean, I look at some of this stuff, and thankfully we now have a great resource called Steam Charts, which I've been using liberally to track a whole bunch of different stuff involving popularity games on Steam, things like sales spikes. Like we used it to track what happened to One Finger Death Punch after I did a video on it, and the spike was just ridiculous. Let's have a look at Desert Gunner, shall we? This game has been out for now 3 hours. You want to know how many people fucking bought it?
Oh, I'm excited.
1!
Oh!
Yep, it has had 1 player in its lifetime on Steam up to this point, and I doubt it's going any fucking higher than that. And it's not purely scientific.
Now that you've mentioned it, it could get up to 20.
Stop ruining it, guys. Don't buy this ironically. I will come to your house and I won't do any of those things. But the Desert Gunner is a prime example of that. And it's not a purely scientific graph. We get that. Someone could have bought it and then just not played it. But it is an indicator of the popularity of a title. That game is there taking up space. It has no business being there, and I bet you could find it with every one of these old games. Let's look at Clans, shall we? Here we go. How many people currently playing Clans? This game has been out, by the way, on Steam for 3 days now. The peak players, 5. 5 was the peak players. Currently playing 0. In the last 10 hours, 1 person has played it. 1.
The sad thing is Steam used to be a mark of success for a game developer. Yeah. It's like, we got our game on Steam. There's a pedigree attached to that. There's some element of quality associated with that. It doesn't mean anything anymore. When Clans can be up for 3 days for 5 fucking people, it doesn't matter to anyone whether you got on Steam anymore, because it's a free-for-all. Anyone can do it. You might as well say, I've got a GeoCities webpage. And it does a disservice to actual developers that have worked hard to get on Steam. And now after all that hard work, is kind of not necessarily undermined, but at least devalued a little, because they're being sold alongside Dark Shadow or Guise of the Wolf or Recoil.
Yeah. The strange thing is that a lot of people always refer me to this argument, well, no other store has that level of quality control. No other store curates its stock. Yeah, they fucking do. I worked at Game, for fuck's sake, for years. They curate their stock. And you know what they do with the bad stuff, the bargain bin stuff? They put it in the fucking bargain bin. They actually curate their store heavily. Every Tuesday, we did something called marketing, which is what they called it, which was entirely redoing the store based on a set plan sent from corporate, which would say, these are the games that we are looking to push on people, and they reorganized the store specifically to maximize the effectiveness of that. And that means the Tosh, that went in the 3 for 10 bin, or the 2 for 15 bin. The stuff they actually want to fucking sell, they cover the walls in it.
Why is the adults only rating a death sentence? Because many stores won't carry it.
Exactly.
If you get an AO rating, Walmart won't carry you. GameStop, I don't even think GameStop carries you.
No, pretty sure they don't.
Yeah, there is quality control going on a store front. If I was selling teddy bears to Toys R Us, and I spunked on every one, do you think they'd pop them up sloppy on a shelf? I don't think so. They'd actually, say, send these back, bring us some unspunked ones, please.
That would be a very polite response, I think, to that. It's like, would you mind sending us the bears without the semen, please?
I like to think the Toys R Us company are family-friendly in all their endeavours. Even responding to a man that's given them jizzy bears, they will, they'll be nice about it. And I will respond in kind. I'll say, I'm sorry. Did I send you the bears I masturbated on? They were for personal use, for my own enjoyment. Take these ones. I have been rubbing them on my dog's snatch, but they'll be all right. It'll come out in the wash.
Jesse's stunned. I love it. I've never heard him so quiet.
I know. It's just I have nothing to add to that.
I apologize.
Brilliant. It was brilliant.
I think
what
I'm
could I
proving
add to
the
that?
point. I think I'm proving the point that the co-optional podcast needs quality control.
Yeah, I
can only apologize.
Well, I've known that for years. Unfortunately, getting these guys to listen is difficult. But
What?
yeah. Yeah, and funnily enough, that whole discussion came from Deus Ex The Fall, which is still shit, by the way, and bugs that I discovered in that game included some minor graphical glitches, like the fact that my laser pointer can inexplicably go through fucking solid walls. There's that. Where there was a lovely robot, actually, a lovely little robot, and this is in the tutorial section where it stops you from doing anything other than the fucking button it wants to give you. This, by the way, to any Deus Ex fan, is the most heretical fucking shit in the universe, because if you played the original game, people complained the original game's level, they had no idea what to do. But that was the best thing, because it threw you in the middle of a fucking harsh situation with barely any weapons whatsoever and said, figure it the fuck out, because that's what the rest of the game's going to be like. And in this case, it stops you from pressing any button other than the one it gives you. At the start, it forces you into crouching and doesn't let you stand up again until you've done the Q takedown. Because that's the tutorial. It's got a bunch of sections where you can't get through places unless the AI opens the fucking door for you, which is like Battlefield 3 in a nutshell, so that was funny. And then I got to this bit where there was a robot, and it said, oh, you gotta throw an EMP grenade at it. For a start, you can buy EMP grenades in the middle of the game without any store whatsoever, which is hilarious because later on in the game it says, yes, you'll find all sorts of black market vendors around this area. No, you won't! It's in the menu! In the menu, you can buy whatever items you fucking please. So after you've gone through the rigmarole of doing that, using the iPad-friendly menu, which is awful on PC, by the way, it's... You know those top 37 fucking gorgeous celebrities thing where there's 37 pages of slides that you have to skip through? It's the menu equivalent of that. And this fucking Death Sentry robot that apparently I need to buy a $200 EMP grenade in order to take down, fucking comes towards me, clips through me, looks around, is like, nothing out of the ordinary here, and then fucking rolls off again. What a piece of shit. I don't even want to start with the gunplay. Like, people are going to experience the wonders of what happens with the fucking pistol, where for some inexplicable reason, every time you fire it, it zooms out for a fraction of a second. Like, it bumps the fucking field of view backwards for no reason. Holy shit, nanomachines,
Now imagine
son.
playing that on an iPad, trying to actually shoot.
Oh, God.
That was the worst experience.
Oh, my God. Yeah, so don't even. I'll hopefully have a video out tomorrow, but I can't guarantee it. There's just so much bad shit to document, and I'm going to have to force myself further into that game without crying, which could in itself be difficult.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it a go tonight as well.
Oh, enjoy.
Just morbid curiosity.
Oh, if you do a video of the tutorial alone, you're going to have comedy for weeks.
Well, people blame me, because lately, because I can't be bothered to think about things, I just do little gameplay videos of whatever's new on Steam. Whatever's new and whatever jumps out of me, out of the featured list that day. And a lot of people say, oh, we get the gimmick of what you're doing, you're just playing shit games. It's not my fault. I'm just picking from whatever's on the page that day.
Yeah.
If I get this long run of shit for days, that's on them, not me.
Yeah.
For every tower of guns, there's like 15 fucking Dark Shadows and stuff.
Yeah, it's not your fault that
Not my fault.
Mitsurugi Kamo Hakai exists. Like, that is not your fault.
Oh, I forgot to play that game.
Oh, it's boring as shit. You will hate it. It is fucking dull. Holy crap. The only thing that succeeds to do is give you RSI, and not in the way that you were hoping for, Jesse, so don't even think about it. Oh, God.
What way was I hoping?
I was implying of masturbation, Jesse. The masturbation was implied.
Look, sir, I'm at a professional gaming conference. There is no masturbation here.
That's because I'm not attending.
Oh, can we talk about something less terrible? Like, I don't know, we could talk about Heroes of the Storm, for instance.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I've already created a rivalry and some beef. I'm so excited.
In what
Straight up.
respect?
So the first night that it came out, myself and after you and Krendor played, I played with Krendor, Sinvicta, I'm trying to think who else, the whole group of people. And we ended up playing throughout the entire night, and I had a blast. I had a lot of fun. I decided that I'd become the best Patriot Jim Raynor there ever was, and I was doing really well. I actually had like 28-6, and I'm like, I'm not doing bad. And so I'm playing, I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. And then about halfway through the night, we run into Crip and his like posse that he's rolling with.
Oh, yeah.
And the entire night was like, fuck Crip, and just like stirring shit. And so we had things like, eventually it devolved into presidents making fun of Crip. So it was like, I did not sleep with that woman, but I did fuck Crip, like that kind of thing. and I hope his fans, I think, took it a little. They were like, "What'd you say, bro?"
I can't imagine the Crips fans would do something like that. Yeah.
It was amazing. I was like, chill out, guys. It's just trash talk. Shut up. And we kept running into them all night, and it was just one of those things where it's like, we barely kept pulling off victories, and it was amazing. I don't know how we did it, but it was a lot of fun.
There can be some really close games in that, as well as complete and utter stomps, I've got to say. Well,
one of the victories we had, just for people who are curious, the way it works, and if you haven't seen any of the numerous videos on YouTube, go watch one, is it's a team game. So it's all team-based. You level as a team, you complete objectives as a team. There is no, like, I'm some sort of badass lone solo player. Like, you need everyone to be together on things. And so the maps have different objectives, and they also have mercenaries. And so there's a million things to do besides just sit in a lane and farm kills, which is it's so much better than just LOL, which don't care. So what ended up happening is there's this mine. You can go underground and farm skulls. And when you farm skulls, you can summon a big skull golem. And in one of the games we were playing, they got like 90 skulls and we got 10. And we were totally screwed. And their skull golem got right to the front of our castle. We killed it right before it was going to destroy our castle. And we were like, oh my God, next time they get the skulls, it's over. Apparently, while all that was going on, one of the guys in our group got these mercenaries. And the mercenaries just start slowly marching up the northern path, just slowly doing it. And by the time the second skull comes up and everyone goes down into the mines to get the skulls to summon their golems, those mercenaries, who everyone had ignored, got into their base. And I was like, guys, F the skulls, get on the base. And we all went down the mercenary path and somehow pulled out a victory. It's like that kind of thing where the game suddenly changes that I have never seen in a game like this, in LoL or Dota or anything. It was like on the fly, holy crap, something we did 20 minutes ago just saved our asses. It was incredible.
I don't understand anything you're saying. Is this one of those Dota MOBA games?
It indeed is. Yes, very much so.
I don't understand those. And because I don't understand them, I'm scared of them. And then I hate them.
It's a very, very casual, it's a casual friendly game.
I disagree heartily.
I'm a super casual when it comes to MOBAs. I hate MOBAs. And this game I am like blown away by. The fact that it gives you time to sort of figure out what's going on, and then it gives you time to sort of develop your character without having, like in League, for example, it does that old school like Dota thing that was, here's a list of items, try to make something with those items that'll benefit you. This is like, there are no items. You just level your character how you choose, and every so many levels you get
a talent,
different buffs or talents you can add to your character. And it simplifies things so much.
I like Kirby. Is it like Kirby or not?
Yes, it is exactly like Kirby.
There is one character that can eat another.
Right, sold.
Yep, there you go. So
there is game of the year. I'll give it a 10 out of 10 now. I don't need to play it.
Excellent.
There you go. Done.
Checks in the mail. I mean, what I would say about it is that I wouldn't call it casual, but what I would say is that it's got a much shallower learning curve than other games like that, because it's still a really team-orientated game, to the point where you can get completely fucking destroyed if the other team is a lot better than you, and things like map awareness and when to hit objectives and when not to hit them, like you just mentioned. A new player and a new team will probably say, oh, well, the map says we've got to get skulls, so we better get skulls, but there are actually times when you don't want to do that, because you can think, well, if I calculate this, it's going to take them X amount of time to collect enough skulls to summon their golem. So what we can do in that time is we can maybe push this lane, grab these merc camps. You can even do things like you can line up capturing merc camps with your golem to make sure they all arrive at the same time, which causes them to do even more damage. And there's all sorts of crazy stuff going on in that game. I was playing last night with Harfu and Forecourt Jester and a couple of others, and one of them was a Diamond 1 League player, and Diamond 1, for those who don't know, is pretty high. Like, that's a skillful League player. And he was the guy that was keeping an eye on the map awareness, and we destroyed people with him kind of captaining us up. It's not because he was, like, incredible and getting all the kills himself. He actually wasn't. He was directing the team, and he had this understanding of how the map flowed and when the best time to do things was. And that's what that game is really all about, doing the right things at the right time as a team and gaining advantages that way. And if you do that, the actual levels don't necessarily matter that much. You can easily swing it in the other direction, which I do like the comeback potential in that game if you are a good team. But in solo queue, right now, it's a fucking... It's a nightmare. They don't have proper matchmaking yet. They don't have enough players in their technical alpha, whatever that means. So... it's a situation where if you're not with a group of 4 other people, you can expect to probably lose horribly. That could happen to you. And it can get really frustrating in the same way that Dota can, in the same way that League can. And they haven't fixed that, and that probably won't be fixed. But you can say that they've provided like a fairly fun experience, and they've cut the initial learning curve down, which is more than I can say for a lot of other games like that.
I like it when Kirby gets the sword.
Absolutely.
You can be a giant stone dragon that comes to life and destroys people. That's kind of like Kirby.
Is it? Is there a giant stone dragon in Kirby?
Yeah,
I don't.
Kirby in the case of the giant stone dragon.
Oh, he's also a detective.
That only came out in Japan, though, right? You had to import that.
Yeah, it doesn't work on American Game Boys.
Ah, shit. I mean, I was hoping to get the Wonder Swan port, but I heard that wasn't so great.
You've got to burn music onto a CD to get that one to work.
Yes, indeed. What does technical alpha mean? I'm going to ask this. We've been talking a lot about the nature of a beta or an alpha these days is... I mean, it's now a bullshit term, basically. It doesn't mean anything anymore. In terms of pure software, it does. Like, internally, something that's an alpha or beta state, that actually means something.
It's something they made up.
Yeah.
They made it up. I just Googled technical alpha, and
Doesn't
Heroes
exist.
of the Storm comes up.
Yeah. It's not a real term.
It.
Sounds about right.
I think beta is let everyone play it. Technical alpha is beta, and alpha is alpha.
But alpha isn't alpha, though. As we've seen on Steam through many products, alpha is not, in fact, alpha.
So alpha's technical alpha.
Alpha was Zordon's helper in Power Rangers.
Power Rangers! That guy?
That's the one. Yeah, that's
Power
what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that is
He
a
developed
helpful
Heroes of the
description.
Storm.
Now I understand.
He gets it now. He gets it. Way to go, Jim.
In between summoning teenagers to fight aliens.
That's almost the
programming
plot of...
doctors and mobbers.
That's almost the plot of Heroes of the Storm is Power Rangers. You get summoned in, and they're like, go fight. There you go.
There you go.
That is the plot of it, basically.
That's the connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really strange. I mean, the official definition of beta is actually a thing, or alpha indeed. The alpha phase of a release life cycle is the first phase to begin software testing. Yep. Mm-hmm. In this phase, developers generally test the software using white box techniques. Additional validation is then performed using black box or grey box techniques, I have no idea what any of those are, by another testing team. Moving to black box testing inside the organization is known as an alpha release. Alpha software can be unstable and cause crashes or data loss. External availability of alpha software is uncommon in proprietary software. Not any fucking more, it isn't.
What you just said there my level of understanding for that is equal to my level of understanding for Heroes of the Storm gameplay.
Yep, I don't blame
This
you.
is all stuff that I don't understand.
Now I
Because
gotta
I'm
look
a
at what white
weird
box
old
and
man.
black box is. Damn it.
Yeah, it's really odd as well with like Hearthstone is a good example of this kind of going horribly wrong. Hearthstone sort of went into closed beta, and everyone sort of understood that. Then it went into open beta, and then sort of hung around in open beta for a long time. But of course, from the very start, you could still pay for stuff. And then it released out of nowhere, and yet the release version is actually buggier than the beta was. It has more bugs, the performance is worse, it has more problems than the previous version of the beta did. But the release was basically arbitrary at that point. Because if it's available to everybody, and you can buy stuff on the store, and it's feature complete compared to the release version, which it was, then what's the difference? I have to wonder. Don't get me wrong, I love the game. I really do. I think Hearthstone's a fantastic card game, but their release model was really odd, and I'm having trouble rationalizing it.
The meaning of these words disappeared years ago.
Yeah.
Once betas were coming out as basically demos.
Yep, true.
Back when, say, Call of Duty World of War was out. God, when was that? Like 2008?
Wasn't there the Halo 3 beta that you could get when you bought Crackdown, which was not a beta in any way?
It's basically temporary demo.
Yeah. Titanfall was not a beta in any way.
No, not at all.
There's been no technical changes since then. I can say for certain.
Well, they do have... HeroesNexus.com has a Blizzard Blue post about what is a technical alpha anyway, and they literally say it's like,
but what
so
is
you
cloud
can help
gaming?
Yeah, it's like, so you can help us test. Is really the game's not finished, it's not polished, it's not finalized, but after a period of extensive internal testing, we've decided we're gonna let you play it.
It's a public alpha that they've just made sound more clever. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah,
because we're not testing technical features really. Like the game's actual technical features work pretty well. That's the thing. I've never had Heroes crash. All of the stuff works the way it's supposed to. There aren't even like in an alpha or a technical alpha, I would expect some of the heroes to have missing graphics to the point where they're just floating question marks.
No,
I would expect texture problems.
It's just an early game. It's a teaser, a preview, a demo, and they're all calling it different names now.
Can we not just call it a demo?
I wish we could, but instead they're calling things alpha, technical alpha, beta, ground zeros. They're calling all of these demos by other names.
Hey-o!
A nice one. That's a perfect time to go to a break, and when we come back, we can talk about a certain game that you have been playing, although not for very long. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back to the Co-Optional Podcast. Some lovely Kirby music in the break there for you, Jim.
I appreciate it. That's, as an ambassador to your podcast, that was a mark of diplomatic respect.
Indeed.
And
I hear it's a delicacy in your country.
Oh, yes. The finest of sweetmeats.
Indeed.
I don't know what I'm saying.
In before 99% of the chat don't know what a sweetmeat is. Well, let's get back onto it, shall we? This shouldn't take long. Just like the game!
Oh, I'm gonna have to wash myself around you, Mr. Payne.
I'm a cheeky little sod, I am. Oh. Jim, tell me about Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes. Go on.
Okay, I got excited being a Victorian London ragamuffin. Ground Zeroes. Yeah, that was fun. Not least of all because, for those who may not know, I am officially blacklisted by Konami.
Yes.
They don't talk to me. The quote, as I understand it, from Kojima's second in command was, fuck that guy. So...
The entire Kojima world order is against you right now.
Yeah, as I understand it. They're probably not fond of me right now. But anyway, I was... Things seem to... Once I left, because I've left Destructoid and I work with The Escapist now, and things seem to be okay. But... Oh, they make it difficult for me to not cause more bad blood. Review copies, for instance, review codes for Ground Zeroes have been available for about a week. But Konami didn't know how to make them work. So I got a code which should be available since about last Thursday. Got it Monday night. And was told this will work maybe in a few hours. So I stayed up till midnight to get it to work. Didn't. Gave up, went to bed, woke up in the morning about 6 a.m., logged on. Nothing. Ended up buying it myself. Which, in this case, was, I've got no problem buying my own games to review. It happens now and then. Mistakes are made, you got to do it.
Definitely.
But when you spend $30 on something you're basically done with in an hour, it's a little bit shit. It's a little bit shit. And that's basically Ground Zeroes. It's a really good game.
Go on.
It's got lots of good things that would be good in a game if it were a game. I hesitate to actually call it a demo. A lot of people want to be technical about that and say it's not a demo because this content isn't in the main game. It's not in Phantom Pain. It's a prequel. Demo is probably not the correct word to use. The word I would use is advertisement. It's a commercial for the Phantom Pain. You get an hour in. There's not really any story. There's like a very vague, glancing story. But otherwise, it's just all set up for the Phantom Pain. It's all... I said in my review on The Escapist, I said I could have bought at least 3 good games. 3 lengthy, fulfilling, satisfying, complete games. At least 3 for the money I spent on Ground Zeroes. And instead, I got a digital billboard, which is what it is. And a lot of people are saying, well, you can justify the price because... it's got all these side missions and stuff in it. But it's all on the same map, and they're all just kind of contrived attempts to squeeze as much value as you can on pure length alone without any actual content in there. It's, to use a film metaphor, it would be like selling a movie on Blu-ray, like the first 15 minutes of it, and then justifying the price by putting in all the deleted scenes and director's commentary. Using extras and side missions as the meat of your product is just, it's a shady move. And I really am disappointed. I didn't believe it when everyone was saying, oh, it's a paid demo, it's a $30 demo. I thought they were being sarcastic. And then an hour and a half maybe I spent on the first mission, and then the credits rolled, and I was like, well, shit, it's not sarcastic. It is a $30 advertisement for the main game. Some people say, well, it's really good anyway, so it's worth the money. But I personally disagree. I am very much in the camp that says length is not important, and I'd rather have a good short game than a shitty long game. But it doesn't even feel like a game. It doesn't feel like a complete package. There's a difference between length and completeness. And Ground Zeroes to me does not feel like a fully rounded, full-fledged product.
Yeah, I think it's easy to make an argument for something like Journey or Brothers as a game that is very clearly complete. Yeah, the experience is done in that amount of time, and frankly, if they dragged it on any longer, it probably would have hurt the experience overall. Plus, one should point out that it kind of has a price that matches that. You know, there were either $10 to $15 titles, which I think not everybody, and this is something I talked about in a recent vlog where I was just talking about the idea, look, that you shouldn't score based on price because it's so subjective, and you should definitely mention all the factors involving the price, but not allow it to kind of affect your score in a big way. There was a French site that scored Ground Zeroes 4 out of 10, and the main reason was because of the length, and I thought, you know what, that's not really something that should be happening, but some people might disagree with me on that. But again, completeness is the most important factor. And you can have a movie, which is usually about 2 to 3 hours in length, that can just feel too fucking long or can feel too fucking short. And you'll pay the same for it regardless.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's less the running time of Ground Zeroes and more the fact that nothing of note happens.
Yeah.
Even if you're a diehard Metal Gear Solid fan, I consider myself a long-time Metal Gear Solid fan. There's nothing that happens in here that a glance at Wikipedia wouldn't be cheaper and just equally as fulfilling to do. You just need to know what happens to this guy for a bit, and that's it, really. It's, as I say, it's all just this very tepid lead up to what's clearly going to be a better game. And then, make no mistake, Ground Zeroes has me confident that the Phantom Pain is going to be an excellent game. I love some of the refinements that they're bringing to Metal Gear Solid in Metal Gear Solid 5, the complete package. I didn't need to spend $30 for that assurance. I just didn't. And that's really my issue, is I bought something that made me excited for the Phantom Pain, but basic marketing suggests that you shouldn't be charging your customers to get them excited to buy your products.
But the thing is, they're going to buy it in droves, aren't they? So you've got to kind of admire just how much of an evil genius is on display here. They're able to sell you an ad, and people are going to say, more please, after that.
Well, yeah, I mean, audacity is a skill, I guess. And audacious is certainly what Ground Zeroes is. And you're right, we're in an age right now where AAA game publishers are desperately trying to find ways to get extra funding and support the ridiculously bloated, over-expensive budgets they need to make their games, or they think they need to make their games. I can't go into too much detail because I don't want to get people in trouble, but there are certain, especially Japanese companies, who have entire meetings dedicated to how best do we carve up our game and sell it to people piecemeal so we can keep developing it while making money off it. Square Enix is one of these companies that are looking at ways to sell you the game before they've made the game. Not just in terms of pre-orders and stuff, like actually selling it to you piecemeal in slices as disjointed limbs.
Wow.
And if they do that, of course, well, they've got that AAA arrogance that tells them they can't lower themselves to charging a budget price for this stuff. So we have an instance where Ground Zeroes is this sliver of a game, this idea of a game, this concept, basically, that they're charging $30 for, which these days, in an age of digital distribution and independent developers, can get you a lot of fully fledged products. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about Square Enix, you could say something that's very close to Jesse's heart, Final Fantasy 13, or more specifically 13-2, that sold you the fucking ending, which, that was a beautiful thing, wasn't it? And I don't know much about 13-3, but Jesse, did it seem like that they really wanted to sort of carve that game up, or was that, to you, at least in your experience, kind of a complete thing that really couldn't be added to? Oh. Jesse, your mic is not on.
Oh, no. It's deliberately off. We're going to charge the listeners to hear him later.
Anyway, I said you can't add to shit. Once it's out, it's out. And that's pretty much the case with Final Fantasy 13. I was going to say, I kept trying to interrupt you guys. Obviously, it didn't work because you couldn't hear me.
Well, your mic was off, so that was a bit difficult. You thought we were being horribly rude to you, didn't you?
I think that I had a question that I was curious about, because when it comes to Ground Zeroes, I think you might have explained it, Jim, but I'm curious. Games have a point, right? Either someone creating it or somewhere along the line, a game is created for a point, either story or specifically to make money or whatever. The point of Ground Zeroes is to advertise another game?
Well, I think the overall point is something that business people call dollar bills, yo. But
that's a technical term. Jim, be careful with your nomenclature here. Most people don't understand.
I don't want to throw around scientific terms willy-nilly.
You're getting a little bit technical here. Relax.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it felt like to me. It basically leads up to a crescendo, and there's nothing really before the crescendo. It's just, I don't want to spoil stuff for people who care. I mean, someone said, does my review have spoilers? I said, well, no, but then again, Ground Zeroes doesn't have fucking spoilers. It doesn't have a plot. You sneak into a base, you do a mission, then the story happens, or just begins to happen, and then it cuts. And then you get an advertisement for the Phantom Pain. It's a...
Holy shit.
It's a cold open, is what it is. It's a cold open. It's the scene in the Batman cartoons of Batman beating up random criminals before the titles happen, and then the actual story occurs. That's what it is. It's an opening. It's a pre-credit roll. It's a billboard. It's a commercial for Phantom Pain. It shows off. It might not be a demo in the traditional sense. You could certainly call it, say, to borrow the Heroes of the Storm thing, a technical
alpha.
Yeah, like it. Some people have called it like a paid tutorial. I mean, that works as well. It gives you an idea of what to look forward to in Grand Theft Auto, in Metal Gear Solid 5. My apologies.
It did a horrible job. Advertised the wrong game.
Kojima waking up one morning.
There's just been 3 interesting mentions in the chat that I'd like to kind of run through one at a time, because they all sort of relate to this in different ways. The first one being Gran Turismo 5 Prologue, not Grand Theft Auto. This whole show, by the way, was sponsored by Grand Theft Auto 5. Gran Turismo 5 Prologue. That cost money, didn't it? If I recall correctly, that wasn't free, right?
I think so. I'm not a big racing game follower.
Yeah, I didn't follow much either, and plus console games. Gran Turismo.
But I do vaguely remember Prologue.
Yeah, that was a game they sold.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, there's a platinum edition of it, interestingly enough. So that was a game that they sold. I don't know what price they sold it at originally, but that's a... I wouldn't even say that's similar, though, because let's be honest, it's a racing game. Even if you have less tracks and less cars, that has inherent replayability, because it's a fucking racing game. A game like Metal Gear Solid doesn't.
Yeah, well, again, people are trying to justify the replayability by the side missions, where you just keep going back to the same map to do a thing, like assassinate 2 soldiers, or, rescue a guy.
That's still a demo.
It's just the same thing. It absolutely is, And again, this comes to the point of, okay, if you really try, you could maybe squeeze 6 hours out of it, maybe 10 even. But you're going to have to try. You're going to have to keep going back to the same, really not very big map, dealing with the same stuff, and just going out of your way to get your money's worth. And last I heard, it was a game, not a job.
Mm-hmm. Another example that was given was Dead Rising 2 Case Zero, which, if I recall correctly, did come out prior to Dead Rising 2. Now, some people consider that to be the same thing, but I would like to point out that Case Zero cost 400 Microsoft points, i.e. $5, not 30. That's a bit different. You think that I suppose this is asking you whether or not the price even factors into the review, but what if they just put this out for $5 as a downloadable game? What would you have said at that point?
I think it would have been a lot better. I mean, I still would have argued that $5 can still get you a lot more of a complete product elsewhere. But it's certainly, I mean, obviously charging $5 is going to be better than charging 30 or 20 if you're going to go with the last gen systems. It's better. It's clearly not ideal. But I said in my review on The Escapist, I said it's a shame that Zone of the Enders 3 wasn't out yet, because that's where it belongs. It belongs packed in with Zone of the Enders 3, like the tanker mission was with Zone 2. So.
Yep. The one final example someone gave was Duty Calls, the parody game that was made for Bulletstorm, which was a 7-minute long game which harped on the tropes of modern military shooters and then had a trailer for Bulletstorm at the end of it. Also, that was kind of free, obviously.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I'm sure I remember playing that. I don't remember
for
buying
all 7 minutes. Yeah, it was.
I mean, that's
a
good idea.
Free. Yeah,
like you give a. I mean, hell, the Microsofts have had advertising games on their systems before. The Doritos games, like Dash of Destruction, or that Yaris game, they released for free. Yeah, I don't know. Was Sneak King free?
It was.
I would hope so.
Didn't you have to hand in a coupon? You had to have a coupon, right? Yeah.
See, I've only ever seen it, I guess, secondhand, where they try and sell it for a few dollars.
Yes.
But yeah, like, if it's an advertisement, the general understanding is it's going to be free. You know, I mean, it already pissed me off that you get product placement in games that are still charging full price. It's like, if you're subsidizing your cost, it would be at least classy to pass some of those savings on to the consumer. And then we get this same industry pleading poverty and saying, oh, everything's being pirated or used games are destroying us. And it's like, but how much money do you need? You're selling the game full price. You've got a sponsorship deal. You've got some deal with Mountain Dew or Subway or whatever. Not to mention the Game of the Year edition, the DLC, just the amount of money they make from so many different places, and they plead poverty. And now we're getting into a point where they're selling the game itself piecemeal, taking bits out, selling demos and shit. Like, it never stops. It never stops. And I've got this horrible feeling that if Ground Zeroes does well, which is probably it's gonna get worse.
Very well could. And it does seem, it's weird that we always point to EA as the cause of a lot of this stuff, but in reality, a lot of this nonsense actually comes from Japanese publishers who really are audacious when it comes to selling shit. We are talking about the same people that were more than willing to sell cartoon idol skins for your planes in Ace Combat. I mean, that's just a tiny example of all sorts of bullshit they're willing to pull. When it comes to DLC, they will willingly cut the endings off a game. Capcom did it, I believe, with Asura's Wrath.
Capcom's terrible for that stuff.
Yeah, Capcom did it. Capcom, of course, has also released full versions of Street Fighter. But, I mean, I could at least kind of get why they do that. It's similar to a sports game in a way. They're releasing roster updates. And, okay, fine, I can sort of understand that to a degree. And at least they're doing proper downloadable stuff now instead of what they did with Super, which is like, oh no, we're not going to make Super a downloadable game. You're going to have to pay $40 for it. At least with Arcade and Ultra, they've made downloadable editions of them, which are actually reasonably priced, kind of DLC updates. But Japan, they pull a lot of shit, and they pioneer some of the most money-grubbing nonsense that you can possibly imagine.
Well, the trouble is, I mean, the difference between EA and, say, certain Japanese companies is certain Japanese companies will specialize in a certain way of fucking with the customer.
Yeah.
And therefore will just be very efficient in a horrible way at it. Namco Bandai, for instance, will jump on the selling you experience points and gold for an RPG.
Yeah.
Capcom will specialize in selling you on-disc DLC and the endings of things. Square Enix will specialize in whoring out the Final Fantasy series to obscene degrees. Whereas EA gets its hate not because it pioneers any of this stuff or is particularly bad, but because it takes a little bit of everything and combines it. They may not come up with these ideas. They may not be the worst at these ideas, but they do more of it than the others. It's almost like if the game industry were a D&D adventuring party, you've got Namco as wizards and rogues like your Capcoms, and then you've got the Bard of EA, generalizing in a little bit of everything. I'm really good at analogies, Jesse. Don't shake your head.
I would say he's a red mage. A bard gives EA too much credit to actually understand music and red mage. They can cast fire, but they can't do fire 3 or cure 3. They just aren't that talented.
Maybe the only acceptable scenario and context, and maybe even not, that this joke would be acceptable in, but referencing Stick of Truth directly, so which company is the Jew?
Definitely not any that I know. Living in Hollywood.
No one's even going to touch that one. We're okay with Jizzy Bears, but once we get onto the anti-Semitism, that's it. We're done.
I try and limit my anti-Semitism. Once or twice a year. And I'm almost at my limit. I've got to save it up.
Fair enough. But I think that the problem with Ground Zeroes is that it most likely will be a success. As you pointed out, it is a Metal Gear game. It obviously is very high fidelity and is the kind of production values you'd expect from a Metal Gear game. It's just fucking short. And it actually effectively got you excited for the Phantom Pain. So not only did it make money, but it was a paid ad and it did its fucking job. And unfortunately, I think the reality of the situation is that people can bitch on forums and Reddit, and we can sit here bitching in front of hundreds of thousands, and it doesn't seem to make a difference because they'll bloody do it anyway. And it'll probably work. It'll probably work.
Well, the way I look at it is, I mean, these companies lose market share regularly. They get themselves in trouble. It's all right for right now. People always say, well, it works. One day it won't. Guitar Hero worked for a few years.
It did.
Then they released 10 Guitar Hero games in 1 year. And then the next year, the series was cancelled and the studio disbanded. This stuff always works up to a point. And so when people say, well, it's working, of course they're going to do it. I'm like, yeah, that
Eventually
argument works if you're a short-sighted animal of a person who, does not think like an intelligent human with some foresight.
Indeed. Foresight lacking in many of these companies, unfortunately. So far, this has been a really depressing show overall. Have we actually played anything that's been any good?
No, I'm waiting for Dynasty Warriors to come in. That's like, I've got Extreme Legends hopefully this week, and that's what I'm going through these miserable days. I've got a lot of admin work to do. I've got a lot of stressful bullshit to do with like back-end non-content stuff. The unfun part of being content creators and stuff. But that's what keeps me awake and keeps me going is
Dynasty
sometime
Warriors?
this week. Yeah. Sometime this week I'm going to get to slash up things.
So, and people always say, why do you like Dynasty Warriors? I mean, that's the reason. It makes your life better. Look, Dynasty Warriors will make your life from like a 5 to a 10, maybe an 11, maybe a 12.
Well, it's a beautiful stress ball, if nothing else. Like, I can have the worst day ever, but throw me into this sort of big battlefield full of peons that aren't fighting back. I don't want them to fight back. And you're just smashing the shit out of them. I'm a happy man for a couple of minutes.
Until Lubu shows up, in which case it's like, nope.
Oh yeah, he'll be there to
nope.
ruin your day.
Oh, yeah, what an asshole.
Yeah. But I'm excited about that because I like playing things on my PS Vita, and I like the idea that you can play Dynasty Warriors 4 between the PS4 and the PS Vita, back and forth. So I'm very excited about that. That's the thing that's keeping me. Until then, I'm sitting here waiting for fucking Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z, which I've heard is god awful. So.
Yes, I have heard that. I believe it's actually coming to PC, which would unfortunately be the first Ninja Gaiden game to do so. And again, be careful what you fucking wish for, apparently. But I don't know. I wonder if that's going to be another Devil May Cry situation where. But looking at the scores, I don't think so. Because let's be honest.
Oh no, a
lot of people hate DMC, but
yeah,
but
this is made. Well. This was made by Spark Unlimited.
Oh Jesus fucking Christ! Stop giving them work.
This is not a Ninja Theory situation.
Oh.
It's Spark fucking Unlimited.
Spark Unlimited. Yeah. They did a game called Legendary, if I recall correctly. Did they not?
The one I know them for is Turning Point Fall of Liberty.
They also did Legendary. Yes, they did the following. They fucked up some great concepts. They did Turning Point Fall of Liberty, which again, good concept, fucked up. Legendary, great concept, fucking Pandora's box is unleashed on the world, gun everything down. How could that fucking fail? Well, apparently Spark Unlimited is capable of that. And then they fucked up Lost Planet. They did Lost Planet 3.
Oh, yeah, they did, didn't they?
Which was the worst of the series by a country fucking mile. Now you gave them the Ninja Gaiden. Why did you do that?
The funny thing is...
I was gonna say, what is this game about? Because it appears to me that when I just Google to see, Ninja Gaiden screenshots, I'm just getting lots of boobs. Is that?
Oh yeah, it's also
how they're selling this game.
It's intensely sexist, according to reports as well.
Just carrying on the tradition of Ninja Gaiden then.
There's a screenshot going around about this guy, I guess the hero, talking about his endeavors with a prostitute, where the women are stacked 6 asses high, and she got him on his knees and made him beg for mercy, and then he's like, sexy bitch. So that's the level we're dealing with. To be honest, it looks too dumb to be properly offended
Puerile fucking stupidity.
But the concept I liked, and I think a lot of Ninja Gaiden fans were actually on board with it. It's like, we've got this zombie-ish, cartoony, grindhousey Ninja Gaiden game. The concept seemed too stupid to truly get wrong. And then you see Spark Unlimited's name attached, and you think, well, if anyone's going to find a way to fuck up this gold mountain, they're going to do it.
Yep.
So
indeed.
I've been excited for it. I was legit looking forward to this, but between the reviews and Spark Unlimited, and normally me and Cowie are like that, because out of the traditional old media games reviewers, I'm the only one that likes Dynasty Warriors. So normally we're on board, but they didn't get me a copy. They got maybe, I think 5 or 6 outlets seem to have gotten copies.
Yeah, GameSpot got one somehow. I'm sure that happened.
All of them panned it. I don't think I'm getting a review copy now. I'm going to have to wait for the Steam release.
Oh, I will be looking forward to that one. That's going to be a nice little earner. Congratulations, by the way, to those in the chat who were just able to pick up a free copy of Luft Trousers, a game that doesn't suck. And the guys over at Devolver Digital randomly gave me 20 keys. Like, here, give them out. I'm like, all right, Nigel, fine. So, yeah, there's some, and I'll put some more in the chat a little bit later. If you're watching the VOD, tough. Sorry. These are going out to the people live only. Yeah, I actually can't wait to play more Luft Trousers later. I played the build 2 years ago at PAX, and it was a lot of fun, and finally the fucking thing comes out, so that should be fun. I hope. Yeah, they better not have balked that up. I can't see how they could have. It's such a great concept. So good a concept, in fact, that multiple Chinese companies ripped the fucking game off. Like they do with everything that Vlambeer ever makes. Oh my.
I just realized something totally off topic, but it amuses me, and it probably amuses you nonetheless. This lanyard I'm wearing is for the game Farm Heroes Saga.
Oh my fucking god!
What? Oh no! It's a King. It's a King game. Oh no! How the fuck did GDC even allow them to allow that to happen?
I don't even know.
I've heard GDC right now is a melting point of disgusting
mobile
development ideas and new business ideas.
While you were talking about all the shit that was going on in developers, I was looking through their little guidebook trying to find, because I've seen at least 3 dev panel sessions that are legit how to make money the most efficient way while still developing your game. That's basically what it was. And I wish I could find those. There's a lot in here about how to make money through free-to-play games and how to make... And
I think I know the one you're going to mention as well.
I mean, there's so many...
The one that how to monetize teams.
Yes.
Did you see that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
What?
There's a panel called How to Monetize Teams. Basically, I think in a safe, efficient way or something. How do we make money off kids?
Wow. If that was anywhere else, people involved in that panel would be arrested and paraded in front of news cameras for saying something like that.
And it's really weird because they're all snuck in here along with things like Why Is Gone Home a Game? That's a panel. Or storytelling.
I'd love to go to that one.
So would I, right? Or storytelling in multiplayer competitive games. Things like that, where it's okay, I see what they're trying to do here. But then a lot of it's making money on the internet. That's one of them. That's one of them.
To be fair, Jesse, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to Game Vid Expo, and I imagine half the panels I'm going to be sitting on will be that. And Jim could also attest to the number of those kind of panels that were at the Escapist Expo as well, actually. That's how to become a professional YouTuber, blah, 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 that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
A lot of people don't do
I've
this.
not got too much of an issue with those kinds of ones where it's like, we're people that are successful at doing a thing and, here's how we did it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's when it focuses on just the cold, cynical how to make money.
Yeah.
Like making a little career for yourself as a game video person, like there's an innocence to that.
Yeah,
like
there's a
people
relative
want
amount
to
of
do
honesty
it.
to it. Yeah, I guess.
But monetizing teens.
It would be like... I can't say that. I'm contractually obliged not to. Damn. It would be like saying... This is a panel on how to make a bunch of YouTube ad money screaming into a microphone to tweens.
Yeah,
just call it that,
edge to it.
Yeah. Well, you gotta say, I can almost appreciate the degree of honesty that's been putting on display there. At least they're not fucking pretending anymore. That's a plus. Like, good. You've established from the outset that you have no artistic integrity of any description. Good. So we can treat you as such.
Well, this is one of the reasons, because I know Jesse asked why I wasn't at GDC, and one of the reasons is stuff like this. Except when I decided not to go, they were less honest about it. It was all dressed up. But they've basically been saying this shit for years. It's basically the attitude they give off at GDC and E3. Just this attitude of cynicism and dishonesty that nowadays they just seem a lot less ashamed about. I guess because they're making so much money and they've seen guys like King take all the heat. So it's like, well, let's just get to brass tacks and say it straight. Here's how you make money from kids.
Yeah.
There's just some of the ones just going through today. There's one called The 4 Emotions That Monetize Free-to-Play Games. I don't even know what that's about, but it sounds awesome.
The 4 motions. Sounds like an ancient medical technique, like the 4 humors of free-to-play games.
This is for people that... this is for the kind of people that describe customers in non-human terms. As things like whales and, divers and shit.
That's one of the ones I was looking for. That when you were talking about, there's one that's
That's
literally...
about whales?
There's one literally about how to snatch whales. About your target should be getting whales when it comes to mobile games.
If you describe your customers in those terms, like, I used to say this word all the time, and I try not to now, because it is a problematic word, but you are a cunt. If you use words like whales and shit like that, if you describe your customers in non-human terms, you are the shittiest prick at the shit prick table.
Mm-hmm.
It really dismays me. It is dismaying. Just this inhuman treatment.
Here's the thing, like, I love money. I fucking love making money the way that I do, and I would like to make more of it, and I'd like to continue to make more of it. But if it becomes about the money first and less about making the content you want to make, at that point you are officially a sellout. That's the definition of a sellout. You're doing something that you wouldn't otherwise do because money, and you're sacrificing your principles in order to do it. And these are entire companies, like million-dollar companies that have done just that when it comes to video games, and they have found that video games is actually the place that you can do it, and you can get away with it. Even setting up your game in the first place to be based around whales, it might be a sound business strategy in the short term, but it's completely unsustainable, and it's flagrantly dishonest, and it means, I know for a fact, you're going to have fucked up your game mechanics and fucked up your pacing specifically to make that happen, because that's the only way it can work. See Dungeon Keeper and 1,000,001 other terrible iOS games.
Here is one of them. It's today at 5 o'clock, so if you can make it here in time.
I'll get on the plane right now. It should be there momentarily.
Why whales sing? Heavy spenders drive virality and retention. That's just one of the things, like, how you can learn about how to control the whales.
See, I could compile all of these panel titles and do my own panel called How to Sound Like a Pretentious Waffling New Age Dick. And that'll be my panel. And it won't tell you how to make money, but it will tell you how to be the worst human being on the face of the planet. Use this word retention, retaining whales, and do that all the time. That's what I see when I hear people use those words like retention of whales. I see people in tank tops going... Sorry,
No, you shouldn't apologize for it. Like, anyone that even thinks about loving video games in any way, anyone who thinks that the medium deserves better, should be appalled at that kind of business practice consistently. And free-to-play is potentially a really good business model. And like every other good business model, it's been run into the fucking ground by people like that.
Yeah, it's pretty much. It's like, it actually makes my skin crawl. These are skin-crawling individuals. Mm-hmm. People who use words like that. Who would, if you go on a panel called Why Whales Sing, how big spenders do stuff with retention, like, you make my skin crawl. You are, like, I don't want to say you're worse than Joseph Fritzl, but I'm not going to use the word worse, but I will use you in the same sentence.
It's there's a lot of it. It's really
disgusting, man.
There's also a lot of panels. I mean, besides the usual ones, are like how to write a story and how to develop sound, things that you would expect at a game developer conference. There's a lot of things that are like how to minimize backlash, and how it's like
you shouldn't have to minimize the
fucking game, you twat.
Then you won't have any backlash. You know you're doing something wrong. It's basically like saying how to get away with it. You know.
Not how to minimize backlash. Here's a panel. I will do a panel for you right now. I don't even have to be at GD fucking C, right? Here is my panel. It's called How to Not Have Backlash. First, ask the question, do I need to minimize backlash for this project? If the answer is yes, don't fucking do the project.
Yep.
End of panel. Any questions?
Yep. Q&A time begins right the fuck now, ladies and gentlemen.
So what you're saying is, I can just imagine the questions. Okay,
it's like saying how to minimize murdering people. Like, you shouldn't be murdering people in the first place, and then we wouldn't have to talk about minimizing the death count. Just don't fucking kill people.
Now,
it's not that hard.
I've already murdered someone. What should I do?
How do I stop myself from murdering further people on the way out? You know,
I've just murdered someone. How do I monetize the body?
Liveleak.com, I heard, is a pretty good place to do that. Holy shit!
It's funny seeing people at the convention, like Nathan Adams over at Mojang. I think he just tweeted that he's tired of people using the word monetize. Like, everyone's trying to monetize I think his direct quote was, also, anybody trying to tell people how to monetize their community makes me sick.
Yeah.
Like, that's all that's happening.
That, and frankly, if you need advice on how to do that, you shouldn't be fucking making games. Figure it out. You know, it's not that difficult. You
deserve a community.
No, you don't. You absolutely don't.
It's really sick. That's look, I know a lot of people hate that. That's what I love about these things. Because it's one half of it is like everyone trying to, like, I'm going to break into this world and I'm going to make the next big game. And the other half's like, I have a big game and I'm going to leech all the money I can from all of you peons. And it's like watching them together. It's so much fun, guys.
I wanted to fight in an arena. It's
so much fun.
I'm coming up to the last episode of Spartacus, War of the Damned, and I would just love to see the games. I would like to see some blood on the sand there at GDC. I would like to see a game jam based on that. Let's create a game jam where you basically get King.com employees, represented in a retro 8-bit style, of course, fighting to the death over whales. Or perhaps in whale outfits. We could have whales fighting other whales. The possibilities are endless here.
I'm just imagining a Mad Max scenario now, where whales become the new fuel, and roving bandits in their scrappy cars are chasing them down and fighting each other for it. And you've got a guy with a mask just walk away.
Holy shit.
Give us the whales.
Arcane.
And walk away.
They tried to warn us. That's the entire plot of Dishonored. Everything is powered by whales. Holy fuck. They knew. They fucking knew, and we didn't listen.
I listened.
We did nothing.
We said...
I didn't do nothing.
Oh God! Please, like, all I am, you know, there's a tale of hope. That Jim, I don't know if you've played the game yet. I mentioned this last week, but I want to say it again, because as depressed as we get, every now and again, someone from the dark side gains redemption. They come into the light, and in the case of Silver dollar games. That's the prime example. Peddlers of absolute fucking tosh on the Xbox indie section for the past 4 years, including games such as Try Not to Fart and Why Did I Buy This? They come out with a game called One Finger Death Punch, which is pure, visceral, responsive fucking joy in a box for about $3 that comes out on Steam. They drew the art themselves because they didn't have the fucking money for an artist. It's stick figures. It is stick figures, and it's one of the most enjoyable fighting games you will find on the market right now. And their previous history is absolute, complete, and total shit. And my hope is the success of this game will set them on the right path. And in 10 years' time, everyone will laud the name from the mountains on high of silver dollar games, that sole purveyor of high-quality, honest, AAA titles with real integrity, heart, and spirit. And that will be our sole salvation.
I never thought I would say you were an optimist, but I feel like you become an optimist. That sounds like you're asking for too much.
When talking about One Finger Death Punch, I can be an optimist, you know? It's the same as talking like Killer Instinct. I can be an optimist when it comes to Double Helix. Again, another company that came from the shadows into the light and created something that wasn't fucking awful.
We all have a good redemption story.
We do. I just wish we had more of them.
Yeah. Well, we live in this weird time where there's just the very worst and the very best. I mean, we live in a world where, you know, that shit on Steam exists. We live in a world where Deus Ex, mobile bullshit, The Fall, it can go on Steam. But we also live in a world where Legend of Grimrock can happen. Yeah. So, you know, there's good to be found. There's good. There's redemption. There's light. But there is also how to monetize your whales.
Impenetrable darkness at the bottom of the sea where the whales linger.
That was Atmosphere.
Yeah, it was good. It was like, this is the plot of Star Trek 4, isn't it? They went to find the whales.
I was about to say.
They went to find the fucking whales. Oh, I could use some nuclear vessels right about now, I'll tell you that for a fact. Oh, man.
Nope.
I'm trying to think of a good game I played this week. In fact, I'll tell you, the only good game I played this week was a physical card game. I played Legendary, which is a deck-building game, a Marvel deck-building game, which I bought specifically for something to kind of play with my son, who I thought, you know what, he would probably appreciate this. He's into Marvel right now. It's sort of like, it's simple enough for him to kind of grasp, and I bought that, and it's all right. It's pretty fun. You summon random superheroes to do your bidding, and then villains come into the city and kidnap bystanders, and you have to fight them with various Marvel heroes. And Deadpool is in it and has a bunch of really stupid fucking effects. Yeah, that's good. It's strange, actually, because lately I've been feeling myself veering away from video games towards physical games, and then wishing that I had kind of enough people to play with on a regular basis to do it. Because, frankly, board games and card games right now are in a state of amazing growth, to the point where there are so many really, really good ones coming out. Yeah, I want to play more of those.
Yeah, it would be nice. It's nice to play good things.
It is. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm legit trying to remember what I played that was good before now. I don't know. I mean, Titanfall had my attention for a little while.
It still has mine.
It's a great game, actually. Infamous Second Son, but I can't talk about that.
That is something that I'm kind of looking forward to. Certainly, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I can't say what I thought of it, but I will talk about this film I like called The Good Son.
Okay.
So that I like that, The Good Son.
Yes. Sounds reasonable. Oh, Fantasy Flight just announced another Warhammer 40,000 board game.
$1,200.
Now, this is the wonderful thing now about the fact that Games Workshop is giving its license to people like Fantasy Flight, because you don't pay $2,000 for a fucking army that they're going to nerf immediately upon the next release of the Codex. You can actually play something that is thematically 40,000, but not as expensive as 40,000. It's actually another card game called Warhammer 40,000 Conquest, which is a 2-player game.
Into that?
Yeah, I'm absolutely into that. I will buy that, and it'll probably be great.
Yeah, a few of our local friends have been talking about Warhammer 40k. None of us want to. All of us want to get into it, but none of us want to get into it.
Let me show you something. This is something else that
no.
Fantasy Flight have done, which I ideally hope they do for 40k. Give me a sec. So,
I thought he was gonna pull out his giant like battle cruisers and shit.
No.
Alright, so
Irami Dark Eldar.
this is the box for something they've just brought out called Warhammer Fantasy Disc Wars, which was a really weird kind of sound to it. But here's what they've done. They have kind of boiled down the fantasy rule set and the armies, of course, to these, which are discs, right? Each of these discs represents a unit. So you can have a look at it. You'll see all sorts of things, Goblin Wolf Riders and this big fucking dragon right here and stuff like that. And the way they've done the movement system is fucking ingenious. So instead of having to measure movement all the time, you flip the disc end over end, and each disc has a certain amount of flips. And if it comes in contact with another unit, it is in melee combat with it, and it fights it. And the whole you could basically put an entire fantasy army on the field based out of these cardboard discs. And it's fairly simple to pick up and learn, but it's got a lot of strategy to it. It's got a lot of kind of army building going on with it. The point system is very simple to understand. You can get upgrades and all sorts of things like that. And it's taking a great concept and turning it into something that's actually fucking affordable, because that box is $30. And you can play, and it comes with 4 armies, and the expansion's probably about $15 to $20 each. It's, it's great. I want to see more of that. And I'm loving the fact that this happens.
I'm looking into alternatives to Games Workshop.
Privateer Press seems to be the way to go right now. War Machine is...
War Machine, yeah, I'm looking into that. I was talking to the guys from Mantic Games. They're basically ex-Games Workshoppers who have more or less ripped off 40k and Warhammer, but because they kind of created it in the first place, they're kind of morally okay to do it, but not quite. But it is basically, you can play Warhammer 40k and Warhammer for a fraction of the cost, because they don't jack up the prices. So I'm looking into that. That looks interesting. There's another one, I can't remember what it was called now, Malifaux or something, which is like this steampunk gothic horror tabletop war game, which again is just not marked up with the ridiculous prices Games Workshop has, because I'd like to get back into some of that tabletop stuff, but I don't want to support Games Workshop.
No, I gotta be honest, really. I don't either. It's... I slightly feel for them, slightly, because they are fucking terrified of 3D printing. And it's because that 3D printing is going to murder their current business model in the next few years. No problem at all. And there's going to be no way they can stop it. And they're thinking of ways to do it. And you know what? The way they're doing it is completely wrong. The one smart thing they've done is to license out Warhammer and 40k to Fantasy Flight. Because Fantasy Flight, they took over after Games Workshop basically abandoned their RPG section. Because they keep doing this. They keep coming up with great specialist games like Gorka Morka or Necromunda, Blood Bowl, and Space Hulk and things like that. And then they fucking abandon them to go back to the main cash cow, which is selling 40,000 figures. But they decided, hey, we're going to give it to Fantasy Flight. Fantasy Flight comes out with a great series of RPGs. They continue Dark Heresy. They release Rogue Trader, and they release Death Watch. And then they put out games like Horus Heresy, which is this gigantic, like $90 huge war game that takes about 12 hours to play. I've got a copy of that. They made Relic, which is a translation of Talisman, that old game that everyone in Britain, I think, as a kid played Talisman at some point, And they made a 40k version of that, and they've just released, I don't think it's out yet, but they're releasing an expansion for it, which is also great, really fun game to play. They got Disc Wars, they're making Conquest, they released a fantasy card game, which is based on orcs fighting each other, which is called, like, Chaos Marauders or something, which is pretty cool. They've done all sorts of great stuff with that franchise, and I'm just really happy that Fantasy Flight has it, because they're doing so much good stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, Fantasy Flight's just a good company. A joyful company to get stuff from.
Yeah, some of their stuff's a bit pricey, absolutely, but I've not had a bad experience with any of their games. They're all pretty good, and they just keep releasing awesome stuff.
Yeah, well, they did the Battlestar Galactica game, right?
Yes, which is incredible. I'd recommend Battlestar to anybody. That is such a good game. They're doing the X-Wing miniatures game right now, which many people are considering to be absolutely incredible. I don't know if I call it affordable. I mean, those miniatures are... I think a fighter, let's just check on Amazon, actually, X-Wing miniatures. Because the core set is about $30, and it comes with... I think 3 TIE fighters and 2 X-Wings. Or actually, no, it's 1 X-Wing and 2 TIE fighters. Never mind, it's $24. But the prices of those miniatures are about $10 to $15 each for the regular fighters. And we just lost Jesse, which fucked up the image completely. Now we have your gigantic head in every box. It's actually covering up my face as well. Pieces of your head will now be monetized and sold to the consumer piecemeal. Which is ideal because we're about to hit a break. So I think now's a good time to take that. When we come back, we'll bitch more about Games Workshop, talk more about Fantasy Flight, and then we'll cover what little news there was this week. You're watching the Co-optional Podcast, Jim Sterling's Split Head Edition. We'll be right back. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Co-Optional Podcast. What a fantastic track that was, actually. It's a remix by Demons and Train Beat. It's called O2 from Kirby 64, Tough It Out, from Badass Boss Themes Volume 2 on ocremix.org. A great site. Great track, too. Well, we could go on to news if we wanted to. I don't think there's really... Oh, by all means.
Can I jump in really quickly?
Yes, of course.
So speaking of what we've talked about today with Japan in the past, where I've been like, I don't get Japan at all. There is Inafune is doing a panel tomorrow at 5 called "Meanwhile in Japan," where literally it's just like, what's wrong with Japanese gaming?
Okay.
I'm so psyched for this. So there's some good stuff here besides all the awful crap that exists here.
Fair enough.
So
you'll get there though, and he'll say the biggest problem with Japanese games
not enough whales.
Yeah, they're not monetizing their whales enough. There's not enough retention.
Mm-hmm. Typical.
Oh me, oh my. Well, let's look at the news, shall we? And there's not really much to find, is there? No, not really. I have a show called Content Patch, guys. It's a news show. I don't think I've put out an episode in 3 fucking weeks, and this is why. There is nothing to talk about beyond just going kind of on singular issue rants, which is fun, don't get me wrong, but it's not really news.
A lot of talk of when the Oculus Rift comes out. A lot of people are like, it's going to change things, man. It's going to change things.
It won't.
Well, I mean, they've been saying that for 2 years, haven't they?
Yeah. It will be cool.
Yeah.
I think the Oculus Rift will be cool. I've played around with it. It's neat. It's not going to change things.
Here's the one thing it'll do is it'll make more games that are like, I can't remember the name of it, and I wish I could. The game I played at E3, which is literally just you lay on a beanbag and make sounds with your mouth and lights and shit fly in front of your face. That was awesome. And I'm sure if you're high as a kite, that's probably the best thing in the world. But I think we'll see more of that than anything. More like sound visual games.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll do anything to change like
it's going to be very experimental, very, innovative, but it's not going to change the way we interact with games forever, I don't think.
I don't know about that. I think it might, because frankly, I think it may be getting to the point where the television might end up being outmoded as the primary gaming display device. Really, TV, of course, is functioned as a piece of technology that has just maintained multiple roles over the course of, decades, even roles that it wasn't designed to do. You remember when you probably don't because you weren't alive, but the Magnavox Odyssey came out, and the ridiculous nonsense that you had to go through in order to get it to work with your TV, as you were basically turning the television into something that it was not. And really, gaming has been doing that for a long time. And I think that there is room for a gaming-specific display device that either has higher frame rate that a TV does, higher resolution, or in the case of Oculus Rift, has that just total immersion sort of feel to it. I know it's kind of a pipe dream, and maybe I don't think this is going to happen, but there is the possibility that something like Oculus Rift could become the standard gaming display device at some point in the future.
It might be an interesting genesis for something. They'd have to get around I can sit and play for a few hours in front of my TV. Can't imagine doing that on the Rift without vomiting everywhere.
Not right now. That thing makes me very sick. There's a couple of problems with the Rift right now. One, anyone who has bad eyes, which it turns out I do as well, so I guess I'll be joining you guys with glasses next week. Because I managed to fail my driving visual test. I can't see shit through my left eye. I didn't know. So that's going to get sorted out.
I actually went through my whole life without glasses. I thought that's how everyone saw.
Yeah.
I thought my vision was normal. Yeah, it wasn't until 2 or 3 years ago that I wore them, and it was like going from standard def to high definition for the first time as I put them on. Could see signs across the street.
Yeah, I was always told
it was a revelation.
Yeah, I was always told that people had a dominant eye, and I assume my right eye was my dominant eye. My left eye was only supposed to kind of be able to see things about 3 feet in front of it. Apparently not. And so indeed the DMV claimed. It's like, no, we can't give you a temporary driver's license. You can't see through your left eye. So that's going to get fixed. But anyway, there's field of view issues with that thing that do make you feel sick, and it's also about your eyes, they need to have a feature which actually customizes it for your vision strength, because it's like wearing a pair of glasses that's not your prescription, and it makes you feel very disorientated. So there's a lot of issues that need to be dealt with there. But I think that potentially it could end up being the standard device if it's affordable enough. I mean, here's one thing that I'd like to point out. Like, for those who have space issues, having a display device that you wear on your head that you can basically use anywhere, that could become very popular. I mean, in particular in countries where a lot of people like live in cities in small apartments. Japan, for instance. I mean, not only is there the potential for waifu bullshit, but there is also the fact that it just takes up far less space. You wear your device on your head, and you get that full experience instead of having to have a 50-plus inch television that you have to sit a certain distance away from. You also don't end up using the television when other people are in the room. You know, there's that privacy thing, which of course could be used for sordid reasons, but
the only trouble there is people are saying the same thing about the Wii U. And
with the gamepad?
It didn't go anywhere. Yeah, like all these things are potentially good. They all have potentially interesting uses. I personally don't have enough faith in the market that I think they're going to do anything with all this potential. It would be nice if they did. I honestly would love the idea of the Oculus Rift becoming this potential genesis for a new way of interacting with games. Mm-hmm. I don't think the market is ready or willing, but we'll see. I hope so. It'd be nice.
Yeah, I think it could be. I think it's got the most potential to be, as opposed to things like either curved screens or 3D screens. Obviously, 3D didn't do jack shit.
The whole 3D thing. I called that from the beginning. I was like, Jesus Christ, they said this. Yeah. They said this 10 years ago and 10 years before that. Like this whole 3D.
Yeah, it's not that they haven't tried it before, you know. But to be fair, they also tried virtual reality before. So I mean, you could supply the same thing there. But this is a shitload better than anything they used to have. So there's that. There is a news article that, well, it's not so much an article, but it's a kind of interesting combo. So, here's a coincidence for you. Today, SimCity goes offline, finally, as in you can play it offline, and the Diablo 3 auction house is shut down today as well. So,
good fucking riddance.
Two terrible decisions, both eliminated on the same day. And I think it's interesting to contrast the outcomes of it, because I'm going to be frank here, making SimCity offline, it's nice, but it doesn't make a fucking difference, frankly. Not at this point. There's not enough people playing SimCity for the online aspect to really matter that much.
Yeah, I mean, they got their online use out of it, and now they can they're not losing anything by doing it, apart from face.
Yes.
We've lost two features that, for months, we were told were essential. But couldn't be removed. And that's the big takeaway for me, is just for more. I was going to say evidence, but it's not really evidence. It's more evidence that this industry has no problem lying through its teeth directly to the face of the game's media and, by proxy, the audience itself. It upsets me. And it's good news that it's gone, but at the same time, it's like that just... You are basically telling us you lied.
Yeah, it also doesn't fix the game.
Call you out on it. No.
Excuse me, I believe their quote was that only now have they managed to resolve the issues that they had before. That made it impossible to do that. So, Jim.
That would be the same issues that modders removed, like, the day of launch.
Yeah, pretty much. And and the thing is, the game is still fundamentally broken, and that doesn't fix it. Like, the offline mode doesn't fix it. And that's an interesting contrast to Diablo 3. Because, while the removal of the auction house itself doesn't fix the fundamental issues the game had, the impact of the auction house and the removal of it, and the subsequent patch, which now basically fits in with the auction houseless game, has significantly improved the game around launch. The auction house was key to everything in that game, was tied into the idea that the auction house existed. You can't ignore it.
The whole, the previous
itemization system. Yeah, because they needed a shitload of drops. They ended up having months and months and months of nothing but the only thing you wear is plus magic find, because you want to find the best legendary items so you can sell them for real money. Now, it took away a lot of the excitement of a Diablo game, which is the idea of getting a new piece of loot.
Yeah, you never got your own class's stuff.
No.
Because the idea was you'd sell other
Sell
people's
it,
class
yeah.
stuff and buy your own.
Yep.
Like, and that's not
Anywhere near as
it,
fun.
Yeah, it was a loot. Those are loot grabbing games. The idea is acquisition of power, not buying the power. It defeats the purpose of a game like Diablo.
Yeah, and
I mean, it was still a great game though. I did love playing it at the time, but
it's a lot better now.
The whole time you think this could be better, and I'm glad it's better.
It's, I hated it on launch. I despised the very nature of it. I played it, got bored, and left. And I know Jesse played a load of it. But I went back with Loot 2.0, and I played the whole game through, the whole lot. And I loved pretty much every moment of it. The story was still terrible, but the looting experience was great, and the looting experience continues to be great in Torment difficulty. And I'm looking forward to Adventure Mode in Reaper of Souls, because I think what Adventure Mode demonstrates is they understand what an end game kind of should be for Diablo, and the fact that Diablo 2 had an end game even though it technically wasn't designed with one for like 10 years. And they said, okay, how did that work, and how can we make a mode that's designed around acquiring more loot and running these random dungeons at the highest possible level? And I'm optimistic, actually, for Reaper of Souls as a result. And I think the comparison between the two is that both companies had to swallow their pride. But in the case of Blizzard, I think they understood what they got wrong, and in Maxis's end, they don't understand what they did wrong. They removed it because that's the only thing they heard. It's like, oh, we want to play it offline. Okay, guys, we are the great and benevolent Maxis. Here is the offline mode. Great. Does that fix every other problem the game has? Like city size, like the way that every city turns out the fucking same, the way that it's just this annoying balancing act, the idea that you could get by without certain utilities. The fact that the AI doesn't even live in its own home. It goes to the nearest one. The way traffic management works, or in this case doesn't work, and it's still not working to its very fucking day. You haven't resolved any of those things.
Blizzard, to its credit, showed some real humility. You know, they actually straight up said, the auction house, bad idea.
Yeah, they came out on a face-to-face video and said it. You know, that takes some balls. I give them credit for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
They still won't admit the story sucks, but...
No, they won't. No, they will not.
That's fine. That's fine. One day they will. One day, like BlizzCon 20, they'll be like, man, guys, remember Diablo 3?
Well,
they'll laugh.
So long as they can use the Molyneux cycle, by the time Diablo 4 is ready, they can say, Diablo 3 story sucked. This one will be better.
I'm being told city size is coming to SimCity. Great. Well, let me know when I give a shit, because it should have been there on launch, and then I might have given a shit. We will see about that, won't we?
It's like all the Sims DLC. Just let's Sims DLC SimCity, which is just garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage.
What else is there news-wise? There really isn't, is there?
There isn't a lot.
It's not a fucking thing.
Even though GDC is going on, like, GDC's never been a big news spinner.
No, people don't announce things at GDC.
No, they just only had to monetize whales.
Yeah. Almost everything on the list of stuff I have is literally like post-mortems and things we did right, things we did wrong. Like,
which are all very interesting. But...
10 bits of design wisdom, right? It's things that are interesting, but not necessarily important. Like today I was
here's
talking
something interesting, actually. Sorry, Project Spark is now an open beta on Xbox One, so there's actually a reason to turn the Xbox One on again.
Oh, did that just happen then?
Yeah, just
when I was trying to get that Ground Zeroes code to work, and I saw it on the store and downloaded it like late last night. I thought it had been up for a while. The first thing I saw was microtransaction packs for it, so then I stopped caring. Mm-hmm. So that's another.
That'll probably end up ruining that game. Like Project Spark was the most exciting thing that I saw at their reveal, and it really excites me. They're talking in the beta. They've put performance capture onto Kinect. You can record your own animations and voice for Project Spark. I mean, that in itself is an incredible notion.
Yeah, it's a nice idea, but I'm
still worried though.
Yeah, like I've got no problem with free-to-play games as a thing. My trust in the model has been eroded by companies.
Mm-hmm.
The theory of it is great, and games like Loadout come out and show that there are still people willing to do it right. But I can't trust anything associated with Microsoft, with EA, with Namco Bandai, with Capcom, any of the big guys. It's sad. You'd think consumer trust would be an important thing, but not these days. So.
Yeah. Sorry, Jay, I kind of butted in the middle of your statement.
No, Is there anything that we've seen with Project Spark that shows its like level of playability? Because that's one of the things I always was concerned about. Like, it just seemed like, oh yeah, you make the game. Well, that seems like a stupid cop out to me. Like, I never liked that idea.
One of the screens on the Xbox One store was just looked like Tetris. It just looked like you can make Tetris if you want. That was the first thing they sold it with, so that doesn't give me too much hope that we're going to get Little Big Planet levels of creativity.
Yeah, I don't know. I never was too impressed with that idea. But no, I was gonna say, like, when it comes to GDC, most of the panels are what you'd expect developers to have panels, like how you'd expect them to be. The Yogscast guys, I was talking to them, and they went to the panel for Kerbal Space Program. And the guy comes out and he's like, how many people have played Kerbal Space Program? And the crowd goes like, yeah! And he's like, now here's some spreadsheets to let me show you how I made this game. And it was an hour of spreadsheets. Like, that's what it is. That's what you can expect. It's not too exciting, but I don't know, if you're into stuff, like tomorrow I'm going to go see a panel called Game Statistics, and it's about statistics for games. And I'm like, are they going to tell me who plays what and who monetizes what? Because I'm in.
That could be useful.
I want to know it all. I want to know how many girls play what games and how many guys play what games, what percentage of old people play games. I want to know all of it.
And then you can find out where the girls are playing games, and then you can kiss the girls.
That's my plan.
Yes.
I'm going to learn every girl game, and I'm going to be good at it, and then they're going to have to come to me to be on their team. And then it's all kissing girls.
Yeah, all deep kissing with tongues out.
Oh, just super deep.
Right in the gullies of them.
Here's the on my end, you froze in the most like condescending, like never kiss those girls. Like, oh
man.
Something good's got to have happened. This has been almost 3 hours of
depressing.
Just three well-off, privileged, cisgendered white men complaining about their toys. That's gonna be a Tumblr blog in and of itself.
Yep.
Oh shit! That is some of the most truth.
Man.
Honesty is what that is.
If only I was a transgender overweight person talking about my toys. Only then would I be interesting. If only. But that is a dream yet to be chased. We could talk about releases.
Sure.
That's probably about all we got at this point.
What we got?
There's some games coming out. I know Jim's looking at a lot of them, as it turns out. Although he's probably not looking at Final Fantasy X2 HD Remaster.
No, I looked at that. That's done. I reviewed that last week.
Man, you are on top of shit. That and you're getting stuff way before us, so screw you. But
well, sometimes. Not all the time.
Indeed. What did you reckon to it?
I thought it was good. It's got some issues. They redid the main character models. But not the other ones, so it almost looks like Tidus and Auron and Lulu and all those guys are interacting in a different game to other people. Yeah. It's kind of freaky, but it looks pretty, it runs well, and I really liked Final Fantasy X. A lot better than I thought I did back in the day. But every time I think back on it, I think, you know what, I had a lot more fun with that game than I convinced myself I did. And, it's still kind of, controversial, that one. A lot of people still don't like it, but I loved it, and I got it on the PS Vita, and I love playing games like that portably. So
yeah, I'm gonna get the Vita version. I think that sounds like an ideal game to play on that. I didn't play 10-2 at all, so I guess I have that to look forward to. But
no, you don't.
Okay, all right.
10-2 is a dress-up game. It's a fun dress-up game, but it's a dress-up game. It's like make her a singer. No one cares.
That is fair. This shirt is purple, by the way. It is my. For those who have not seen it, it is, of course, my wonderful Kappa shirt right here. There you go.
That is nice.
That is nice. I like it. They sent it to me in 5 sizes because they didn't know how morbidly obese I was. And I appreciate that they're so inclusive. But I am very surprised at this point that, well, I can get them to send you some morbidly obese clothes too.
No
Jesse.
one sends me shirts.
I will ask them to send you some very, very large shirts. I think they do a custom muumuu actually with Kappa face on. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's what I want.
I can't let myself get to muumuu status. I can't let that happen.
Check your muumuu privilege, Jim.
I don't have to full wear it. Just throw it over me like a blanket? Can they do a blanket?
I'll see what I can do.
What about a poncho? Can they do sort of a poncho?
No ponchos. No, that's going too far. Of all the things you said on the show, that was the most offensive. But going back to the point of Final Fantasy X, I'm really surprised that people can maintain the whole, Final Fantasy X was shit, in the face of Final Fantasy 13 and its sequels.
Actually, I said that in my review. I said, in a post-Final Fantasy 13 world, you appreciate just how good FF10 was.
FF10 was a Final Fantasy game. The only thing it was really lacking Final Fantasy-wise was the whole overworld thing, which they did kind of do in 10-2. They recognized that, but honestly, I didn't really miss the overworld thing so much, and it was a Final Fantasy game with a good mini-game, with a good leveling system, and with memorable characters. And that's perhaps the biggest fucking deal. I can't remember a single fucking character from Final Fantasy 13, but I can remember all of them from Final Fantasy 10, even if it was just because half of them were fucking annoying. Yes, exactly.
Love it. It just sounds like we're in pain. People always defend that scene. They say, it was deliberate. They were supposed to be obnoxious. It was supposed to be forced. I could do a shit on your fucking front room carpet. I did it on purpose, but I still did a shit. The context doesn't matter. That scene's the worst.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. What else is coming out this week? We have The Witch and the 100 Knight. Not the 100 Knights, the 100 Knight. Because Japan.
It's a NIS America game, isn't it?
It is, actually. I do like NIS. They put out some great stuff. Although, in this case, apparently, it's not so good, unfortunately.
That's a shame.
They do...
Sorry, I pawned that review off on someone else.
I don't blame you.
Couldn't be bothered.
With NIS games, I don't blame you. You've got to get in pretty far to actually find value, but... I appreciate the Nipponichi exists, certainly. They put out some great stuff, but I don't think this one is, and it's getting pretty poor reviews up to this point, so that's a bit of a shame. But I hope they continue to exist.
Good. I didn't have the personal time to do it for review, so...
Yeah.
But that's a shame, because it looked promising.
They put out some really interesting stuff, and credit for that. But yes, 100 Knight, because why the hell not? Ground Zeroes is, of course, out, although you probably played it and beaten it already. I went on YouTube and looked for Let's Plays, and it was genius, because it seemed like, this is going to be the next big cash cow, folks, and then they finish it in 3 fucking episodes, and it takes them 3 hours. They just upload all the videos. Done! Next game! Like, well...
Yeah. It was easy work, I'll give it that much.
Yeah, indeed.
I could clock off for the morning once I'd done that one. Like, no more work for me to do.
Yeah. Half of me wants to buy it on the PS4, so I actually have a reason to turn on my PS4, but I'd only turn it on for 2 hours, so what's the point? Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z. PS3, Xbox 360, and PC. It's supposed to be out today for PC, but Steam...
Is it out today? I thought it was out Friday.
My release date schedule says today, but that is apparently wrong. So, currently, there is no release date. Oh, no, hello. Well, no.
March 21st?
That's only when the promotional price ends, so it might be then, but yeah, that kind of lines up about right, doesn't it? Yeah. So, yeah, I guess they're putting it out on Friday, right? Well, I know what I'm looking at there, then. Oh, dear. That's going to be
so they didn't send me a review copy, and after the panic it got this morning, I don't think they're going to be sending out any more review copies.
No, probably not. I'll have a look at it. Love Trousers does come out, though. That's good. And that's out on PC and PlayStation Vita.
I keep hearing that game as Love Trousers. Is that
Love Trousers.
Is that deliberate?
Love Trousers. Every time I spoke to Vlambeer about it, they said, if you call it Love Trousers in the video, we'll hate you forever. And I've been doing it ever since. So,
I'll definitely start that up as well.
Yeah, if we got some German fans, they can probably translate it properly. The closest I can go to it pronunciation-wise would be Luft Trousers. Luft?
Yeah.
It's Luft,
they could
right?
be red something, right? Because there's that 99 Luft balloons.
Yes.
And that was Luft.
Yeah. I don't know what Rousers is, but...
Red?
Well,
something?
yeah, red something. What does Rouser mean?
Aeroplane.
Red rocket.
Rouser. What? No, I'm looking for... Where's my Google Translate? Here we go. We're going to figure this one out live on air. We're going to demonstrate our cultural diversity here on the show. Rouser. Detected as English. Well, that's not right. German. Translates to Rouser.
Red Rouser.
Red. Yeah, Rousers apparently is not a real word. They just made it up. So, there you go. So I can't pronounce it incorrectly because it's not real.
Yeah, Vlambeer.
Yeah. Can I just point out a really important piece of news? Today, they released an update for Zombie Bowler Armor on Steam, which makes it run on newer Windows 7 8 machines. Yes, indeed.
What a delight.
Proper Windows 8 compatibility for Zombie Bowler Armor. Very important.
Oh, download that today.
I don't.
You've got nothing, have you? The two genre tags are zombies casual. Like, they didn't even bother putting bowling in as a tag.
Yeah.
I'm adding bowling, guys. We've got to put some justice in here. All right.
Whoa, you already tagged it zombies. You don't want to give too much away.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Let the bowling be a surprise.
Okay, right. Because I feel like fucking with Valve today, I need you to add justice as a tag to Zombie Bowlerama. So, Justice. Please go to Steam, find Zombie Bowlerama, tag it Justice. I'm sorry, they fucked up my tag system, and now I'm getting my slow, painful, and ineffectual vengeance.
My impotent revenge.
Indeed, the best kind of revenge.
You're gonna have today people do it, and then Steam's gonna be like, "Well, what's happening?"
Ban Justice as a tag, and then we can say
it'll happen again.
Then we can say Steam opposes justice.
That is true.
Valve is against justice. Brilliant.
Do that the whole time. Next week, do free speech.
Yeah.
The week after that, civil rights.
Yeah. Gay rights.
Yeah.
Transgender recognition. Yeah.
Just really make them out to be the worst.
Just wonderful. People are saying poor Steam. Poor Steam. It's like, oh, poor Bill Gates and all his money.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the equivalent of it. All right, what else do we got? So we have Danmaku Unlimited 2, which is actually out on Steam right now. It's one of those shmups, and it's one of those things where you have to turn your monitor sideways in order to play it properly, otherwise it's got big black bars. So that's lovely. Steam World Dig, which is actually quite good, coming out for Vita. That's an ideal platform for Steam World Dig, I think, actually. Nobody's played it, have they?
Steam World Dig? No, I played Steam World Dig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, PS. It came out originally on 3DS,
I tried to do a video on it, and found that it doesn't make very entertaining videos.
No,
it's a fun little game. It is one I would have preferred. I played it on Steam. I'd have preferred to have played it on the 3DS. I prefer those games on portable. I like Terraria on PS Vita, for example. I like to play them more sort of in a laid-back environment like that.
I doubt would be any worse at Terraria on Vita, Jesse. I think would just be equally bad regardless of format.
Oh, if anything, the controls would screw me up even worse.
Oh, God, yeah, no doubt. Stealth Inc. Ultimate Edition for PS4. What the hell is this? Now, this I have not heard of. And the fact that it's a PS4 exclusive?
Stealth Incorporated.
I've heard of Stealth Inc.
Hang on a minute. This is bloody Stealth Bastard. They had to rename it. I forgot that. Yeah, it's Stealth Bastard.
That makes sense.
So Sony does not accept the word Stealth Bastard on the store. Disappointing, Sony.
While selling Killzone Shadowfall.
Yeah, Yep, they're fine with that. Yes, there you go. What else? Well, on the 20th, we have a game called Cloud Built, which is coming to PC, which I suppose will finally answer the question of what is cloud gaming. Cloud Built is...
Pretty little name.
It's an interesting idea. Use over-the-top rocket-powered parkour and reckless moves to carve your own way through challenging levels. With a heavy focus on speed and mobility, you gain lots of freedom to choose your own resolve. The art style's quite nice. The art style's actually very nice. It's a very...
for a game called Cloud Built.
Yeah, very Borderlands-esque, actually. That looks like it might be a bit of fun, although it looks like a little bit of platforming. There are hazards. It's not a... it does have shooting in it. Huh.
It's lovely to see a game with just really bright, bold blues and yellows and stuff. Yeah. You just don't see it. I always thought it was a tragedy of the HD age of gaming that they went with greys and browns. Because
real, bro. It's more realistic.
Bright, clashing, contrasting colours is what stands out. It's why I always said that Viva Pinata was the best-looking game of the last generation. Because the art style lent itself well to actual HD visuals.
Hey, that's the best fucking stuffed animal fluff I've ever seen in a video game.
Yeah.
Still to this day, it has not been beaten.
Similarly, like the Sonic the Hedgehog games, like most of them have been shit, but they look amazing.
They do.
The
Yeah.
Hedgehog engine is just one of the best showcases of HD television I've ever seen.
That's true.
You know, you get something like Killzone or Gears of War. They're pretty, but they don't make the most of HD.
No, I'd agree with that. Men of War Assault Squad 2 on PC. If you want a fucking hard RTS, finally a real-time strategy, then all the Men of War games are rock hard and really, really good. And they focus on... It's almost like a modernized version of that game Commandos, which was an absolute nightmare of a title back in the day. You deal with small squads, you have individual control to the point where you can actually take control of a soldier and move him around, and you can hijack a tractor and ride around on it with a full squad of World War II soldiers. And it's actually quite an effective strategy in multiplayer. And it's actually kind of great. I think I'll play this one. I haven't played one since the original Men of War, I think. No, I played Vietnam, and that was rock hard as well. But there's actually been quite a few Men of War games. So... Oh, that's actually also early access. God fucking damn it. It's on the release list, and it's like, oh, yep, that's when it's going to be in early access. Like, no. All right, screw that then. I guess I'll pick it up when it comes out. So that's me disappointed. On March the 21st, though, we do get Infamous Second Son for the PS4, which, again, is a reason to turn on your PS4.
Unless it sucks. We don't know. Someone won't tell us.
No, he will not, because he's a professional.
Yeah, there's no way I can tell you it doesn't suck. No way.
No, not at all. And that's pretty much it for the releases, folks. That's the lot. That's what we got.
Video games for you.
Video games.
We can take it as read that there between now and next week there will be half a dozen more mobile games on Steam.
No doubt. Yep.
Yeah, that's just part of the course.
Yes,
so.
I have no doubt about that. Yeah, there's something coming up, but unfortunately it's on early access again, which is disappointing, called Lichdom Battle Mage, which looks kind of great. It's a first-person blast people with magic game that looks quite...
Lichdom Battle Mage?
Lichdom Battle Mage. It's in the Cry engine as well. It's by a studio called Xaviant, who has not made anything as of yet. They're like, it's a team of industry veterans, like from who exactly? But I looked at the screenshots of that on Steam, and I'm pretty impressed, not only with the art style, but also just with the general fidelity of it.
It does look pretty.
It does.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I do love that art style.
It's creepy as well. It's kind of got, I don't even know what you call that, the glowy green horror aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, it's glowing green, and it looks a little bit mischievous. It's got that look that I like. It's apparently a self-funded 50-plus team that is doing this, and they're making Lichdom Battle Mage. And I'm trying to identify any of their actual people.
It's also early access, which is...
Yeah, that's the problem. It's weird, because they're letting you, they're not letting you pre-order this, but they're putting up games that are early access and saying, coming soon! And then they'll be saying coming soon again when it actually comes out.
Yeah. I saw a good argument. I forget who said it. Maybe Chris Carter at Destructoid. Maybe Ben Kuchera. Just someone who I follow on Twitter. Said that their big problem with early access is it kind of ruins the fun of a launch.
Yeah, it does.
You know, it kind of takes the wind out of the sails of a game releasing.
Yeah.
Because you've already played it in dribs and drabs, and it had this non-release, and then came out. It's, and they call it early access or beta or ground zeros, and that's a sad time.
Well, with Men of War Assault Squad 2, you can pre-purchase the early access.
Oh, good.
It's like, what? Oh, my.
It kind of feels like with Hearthstone, what happened there is the game came out and there was no...
Well, there's no fanfare. The only thing that happened was that Hearthstone got reviewed on launch by those outlets that weren't, mischievous enough to review it in the first place. But the thing is that those reviews are irrelevant because the game had already got so much coverage from pretty much anyone that's even remotely listened to on, YouTube or anything like that. You can find all the information you could ever need. So those reviews were ultimately obsolete. They serve no practical purpose.
Right.
It
is weird.
It is really strange. You know, and I do love my Hearthstone, but the way that they did that was weird, and they're kind of doing the same thing with Heroes, and I'm not sure I like it. Ugh. Apparently, the Metacritic score for Hearthstone is 89. The user score is 6.8. Lovely.
Wait, why? Why is that?
Oh, well, let me read you some of the genius...
Isn't it usually in reverse?
Would you love to hear some of the genius reviews from people?
You know I would.
This is a 2 out of 10 review right here. So basically, it's on the level of Ride to Hell Retribution or Elf Bowling. Just to give you a bit of context there. From Xenowing, played this a whole bunch in the early betas, and boy was it fun, until I got a taste of the arena. Priest after priest after priest of people abusing some seriously broken and overpowered builds. But I just want to point out, by the way, he's complaining about people abusing overpowered builds in a mode whereby the card draft is completely random, which does not allow you to do anything of the sort. Waited a while for them to patch it, and they did, and then another class got overpowered and nerfed, and then another class, and so on and so forth. It's the exact same fucking rubbish people have been putting up with for 8+ years in WoW, where they can't reach a balanced consensus, and instead resort to just mixing everything up randomly every other week. And if they are already doing this in the beta and onto the release, well, that isn't a good sign as far as creative thinking goes. Where is the creative thinking anywhere in this critique?
So is he trying to say that because things change so much, you can't create a solid build? Is that what he's trying to
Which
get
is
to?
absolute... Basically, he doesn't understand what the metagame is. Like, he doesn't understand the term of metagame. Things shift. And the point is that if something becomes powerful, generally people build the counter to that, and that's how the metagame works, especially in card games and everything like that. Same as StarCraft 2. Admittedly, right now we're in a period of actual imbalance in StarCraft 2. There's definitely some imbalanced stuff in Hearthstone, but not enough. And the weird thing is that he's pointing at the arena as a problem there, where the arena's the great equalizer. Basically, if you're in the arena, you have access to a random draft of cards. It doesn't even matter what cards you have. And you can come up with some ridiculous stuff or some non-ridiculous stuff and run up against all sorts of other things. Oh, man. Then, of course, you've got... Yeah, this is lovely. Here's one from Sniper Fox DLs. 0 out of 10. So basically, it doesn't exist. No idea how the critics rated it this high unless they only played for the first hour. Just want to point out, by the way, I've played probably over 300 hours of Hearthstone, so I kind of know what I'm doing. But the first hour or two is fun because it's against computers who don't have decks full of 90% rares and legendaries. Once you hit your first few PvP battles, you quickly realize this is a pay-to-win money grab. Is it as obscene as the new Dungeon Keeper on Android? No. Do you have a chance at winning this game without paying your opponents? What? Oh, without outpaying your opponents? No. Apparently you have no chance of winning if you don't pay a huge amount of money. So, which is, again, a very interesting thing. One of the better players lately, who goes by the name of Trump, actually decided he was going to rank to Legendary, right? Legendary rank.
Oh, no.
What?
Trump
Jesse?
and this guy Pisto are part of the F Crip crew.
Are they? All right. Yeah, that
the
doesn't
entire
surprise me.
time I was like, F Trump! And
Yeah.
basically all the streamers. So.
Trump is the nicest guy in the world, and you're a horrible person for doing that. So, in Hearthstone, there's a ranking system. It starts at 25, goes all the way up to 1, and then there's a bracket above that called Legendary. And that's, like, individually ranked players who are, like, the best in the world. And he said, I'm going to go to Legendary with a deck consisting entirely of free cards. And he did it. Like, no problem at all. Really, the problem is that these ridiculous complaints come from people that, ironically enough, don't know what the fuck they're doing. And yet I'll have the audacity to say, the only reason you'd have rated this high is if you only played it for the first hour. Like, yeah, okay.
So Hearthstone's like Kirby, right?
Yeah, very similar.
Okay.
There are cards that eat other cards.
Yes.
Yeah.
As long as I'm caught up.
Yeah. There's actually a sword. There's a card that gives swords to other cards. So that's there.
Okay.
Very
These are
like
terms
Kirby.
I can understand.
Yep. I mean, there's
I'm on board.
Yep, a lot of players suck in that game, similar to Kirby, which is good.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it's very similar to Kirby.
Kirby.
Kirby is a game we can all get behind. Kirby's an honest game. Kirby has integrity as a game.
I mean, Jesse, you're shaking your head.
You don't like Kirby?
I refuse to get behind Kirby.
You are the GDC panel of people, then.
You know what? I'm about to monetize my way to promoting myself. Jesse Cox, go there, internet.
Oh my. Wow, we've got 13 minutes left of the show.
Yeah.
Let's...
It really did putter into an awkward quiet then.
We had
just kind of...
No, here's
There's
what
nothing
happened.
to talk about. There's no
Here's what happened.
news.
You guys were like, let's be positive and stop being negative, and you ran out of things to talk about.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
There's that new Gauntlet game been announced.
We are literally at the bottom of the barrel. Here is a new Gauntlet game.
Well, here's something.
Well, I didn't say it like a grizzled prospector.
Yeah.
There's Gauntlet in Imthar Hills! Gauntlets as big as your fist! Oh, I hate that rabbit!
Gonna get me some of that Gauntlet. Oh, boy.
We're gonna use that to pay our way to the new world! I'm mixing up my eras.
Hang on a minute.
Exotic silks and spices from Italy!
Sail round the horn and get some fucking tea.
This is what happens when there's no news.
No.
Prospectors.
Petroglyph just announced.
Prospectors.
Here's one for you. You'll love this one, Jim, specifically, I think. So, here's an announcement. This is a lovely, lovely email. This is brilliant. This is the kind of PR that I really want to see. Introducing Petroglyph's new RTS, Grey Goo. Grey Goo.
Is that being provided on teddy bears to sell to Toys R Us?
Oh my. So, prepare your armies for classic RTS gameplay in this upcoming PC title by Greybox and Petroglyph. Command one of 3 factions, each with distinct units. I mean, this all sounds great, by the way, and I'm an RTS fanatic, so I'll absolutely love it, no doubt. But you could have called it something less stupid. Grey Goo? That's what you came up with? Grey Goo. And the subtitle is War is Evolving.
Into Grey Goo?
Grey? That would be the opposite of that, right?
That's sad. Everything's sad.
Goo. Great. Yeah, I mean, it's like upcoming RTS and we chose Grey Goo as our title. Like,
I can see...
What is wrong with you? You could have put Reckoning in there somewhere.
Yeah, Grey Reckoning.
Grey Reckoning. That makes more sense. And then you could release its expansion, Grey Reckoning, subtitle, Reckoning.
Or you could call it Goo Farm Saga.
Speaking of which, guys.
Yeah. I saw some mentions in the chat of people wanting us to talk about the whole Crazy Taxi free-to-play and the Roller Coaster Tycoon 4 free-to-play thing, but...
Oh, they're doing a free-to-play Roller Coaster.
Sadder.
Oh, God.
Roller Coaster Tycoon 4 mobile.
You fuckers!
The trailer, I've actually got, my one response was just, for fuck's sake.
Yep.
There are a lot of people saying, well, it's free-to-play doesn't necessarily mean bad, but then
free-to-play on mobile fucking does.
You look at the trailer and there's a whole bit about annoying friends on Facebook to earn tickets, which are the currency. So you know exactly which way it's going to fucking go.
Oh,
but yeah,
man.
that Crazy Taxi as well. This is what's going to happen. All the old gods are dead. Resurrected as free-to-play games on mobile. Yep. Dungeon Keeper, fucking Theme Park was one. It's going to happen with Crazy Taxi and Roller Coaster Tycoon. Going to see it happen all the time. I will be surprised if in the next year or so we don't see Theme Hospital come back as one.
Oh, fucking hell. And they're these are Facebook games. They're just transplanted onto a mobile device. Facebook games, and Facebook games did this previous to that. The whole calculator genre originated on Facebook. It didn't originate on mobile devices. And
I mean, Facebook kind of fell through on the gaming front, so they just upped sticks and Oregon trailed it onto mobile.
Indeed, they did. Yeah.
It's sad.
I'm trying to think how Crazy Taxi would do it. They'd probably do the same as that Real Racing 3, wouldn't they? Where you had gas, which you had to recharge or pay money. So basically it's saying, well, you get to play it for like 20 minutes and then you're going to pay. Or some other bullshit like that.
Yeah. You got to give me some crazy money.
Indeed. Ready?
Yeah.
I legitimately...
I bet there's no Offspring in it either.
No.
I just went through every news website that I know of, and I literally I thought maybe there was something. There's nothing.
No.
I'm so glad I got out of being a news writer. Days like this remind me just what a horrible job it is.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for those still writing news for their video game websites on the internet.
I find a rather disgusting but inherently delicious irony in the fact that the original Crazy Taxi had half its soundtrack done by Bad Religion, some of the most anti-corporate kind of stuff you can kind of find, and then along comes Crazy Taxi Free-to-Play, which is nothing but...
Yeah.
Oh my. Ruining everything. Ruining
I was just about to
everything.
say it's sad, and then I realized I've said that about 10 times on this podcast.
Mobile gaming has ruined fucking everything. I swear to you.
Certain companies ruined mobile gaming, and then mobile gaming. Mobile gaming itself, again, like free-to-play, I am a believer in fundamentally. There are games on mobile I love. I love free ones. I love One Epic Night. I liked Plague Inc. I loved all this stuff, but other companies came in, and then we got Final Fantasy All the Bravest, and we got all these shitty free-to-play cow clicker things.
Here is Roller Coaster Tycoon 4 on mobile, by the way. I'm showing you the trailer. It currently has over 5,000 dislikes and 186 thumbs up.
I believe I'm the most upvoted comment on that as well, which the comment does just say, for fuck's sake.
Facebook. You know what the sad thing is? It actually looks like a Roller Coaster Tycoon game. You know what the sadder thing is? It looks like a Roller Coaster Tycoon game that came out 15 fucking years ago.
Yeah, well, they want to sucker you guys in. That's what I don't get, though. They use nostalgia to sell these things, but the people nostalgic for those games are pissed off about it. The people who will buy that stuff are people that don't care that it's Roller Coaster Tycoon. It's almost like they exploit this shit for no other reason than to be exploitative. You could have just called it Roller Coaster Happy Fun Time, give us money now, please.
And no one would have given a shit because you're not tarnishing a franchise that people have been begging for a new title in for fucking years.
Yeah, it's almost like they do it just to piss people off and get some notoriety. I can see no other good reason, other than the fact that I guess it costs less than developing a new IP, even if it is a roller coaster fucking game, and you could just call it the roller coaster game.
Yeah, pretty much. I just don't... Oh, God, I'm so fucking sad about video games right now. I'm gonna go buy some more Fantasy Flight games. Let's look at what Fantasy Flight have released.
Yeah. Board games and the like won't betray us.
Yeah, let's go buy some board games and card games. Yeah, they just announced that Warhammer Conquest game, and they did a big feature on how it was going to work, and it looks kind of great. They have an alliance system where you can sort of mix. It's a by the way, it's a living card game. Again, a really, really fair model where instead of you kind of having to just buy packs and hope to get the right cards, you just buy the expansion and it comes with the set of the cards that you need. And, it's listed on the box as to what's in it. So, living card games are a pretty great model that I think Fantasy Flight pioneered, and they did it for Game of Thrones. They did it for the Call of Cthulhu game. They did it for Android Netrunner, which is incredible. And they're now doing it for a Warhammer game, which sounds brilliant. What else did they release lately? They released some new miniatures for X-Wing. They've put out a new expansion for Netrunner, by the looks of it, which... is, for those of you who don't know, a really cool cyberpunk game, which is asymmetrical. It's one-on-one. One player plays the hacker, and the other player plays the corporation trying to protect his interests against the hacker. It's a very cool game, and that's available. And
so the message is really just everyone stop playing video games. Go back to board games.
Yeah, board games are kind of great.
Get Hero Quest. Get Key to the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Get that one with the dinosaur that you wound up and it'd go around and knock your pieces off the boards. That's all we need.
It's not quite the complexity of what I was looking for there, but basically get some motherfucking Loop and Louie up in this bitch, right?
Yeah. Right all up in it.
Loop and Louie.
Right up there. Oh, Netrunner. I need to get some more expansions for Netrunner. There's not much else to say, really, is there? After 3 hours, I now hate video games. This is entirely your own fault. This is your doing.
Yeah.
You're doing.
I've come in, the ghost at the feast. Ruined everything.
Indeed, I would say so. Well, we've got about 3 minutes left of the show, so why don't we talk about what's coming up on our channels this week? Jim, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously most of my stuff is off of YouTube. It's I'm not YouTube based. Over at the Escapist Magazine, escapistmagazine.com, you can check out my weekly show, Jimquisition, which goes up every Monday. And this week it's called Why the PS4 is Kicking the Xbox One's Arse. I thought I'd have something a little less controversial than normal.
Oh, yeah, right.
I've got my show Movie Defense Force will be up on Thursday. Jim and Yahtzee's Rhyme Down Spectacular, our poetry show, will be up Tuesday morning.
I heard there was a particularly interesting one lately about a certain extremely popular YouTube gaming personality. Was I mistaken?
I did a poem called The Dark Side with Wonderful. A Y in honor of a luminary.
Indeed.
Peer to us all.
Someone that we should all aspire to be.
Absolutely. And you can, and over at this game, you can check out my reviews. We do written reviews. I reviewed Ground Zeroes, Final Fantasy X HD, loads of other stuff. And that's all good. And my YouTube channel, I do just stuff on the side there, is just Jim Sterling. Just my name all squashed up, Jim Sterling.
Yep. Easy to find. You can find the Hard Truck Apocalypse video in particular will be of interest, I think, for those of you who watched my Sledgehammer video. See how somehow that company went backwards. God damn it. Jesse, what's coming up?
This week we're playing Shadow Warrior and we're having fun.
That's a fucking game right there.
Yes, it is a blast, and I discovered Godzilla walking around in the background as an Easter egg.
Yeah, sounds about right.
What? And other than that, just a few fun Jesse Sells Out videos, and other than that, I'm at GDC, walking around being stupid, harassing developers, trying to figure out why they are crazy people. That's pretty much it. That's it. Jesse Cox. It's my name, but all squashed up.
He's even stealing from other people now.
I always have.
That is true. Alright, coming up the channel, you can expect a video on Deus Ex The Fall. I don't even know how to approach it. It's one of those titles that I hate so fucking much that I want to do it in a different way. I've done 2 videos called Let's Not Play. One of which was for Need for Speed, because it was locked to 30 FPS and what happened when you tried to unlock that to 60. And then for Guys of the Wolf as well, which was basically just my stream VOD, which I accompanied with a proper critique in another video. I would love to do Let's Not Play Deus Ex The Fall and just show you the tutorial and hear the screams of people like me that love Deus Ex and see the very antithesis of it demonstrated on screen. But I'll probably just do a WTF is and tell you how fucking terrible it is, and trust me, it is really bad. It actually makes Invisible War look like a good video game, and that takes a lot of fucking doing. I'll give them that. I will do a video of Love Trousers, because that's actually good.
Love Trousers!
Love Trousers, yes. There's a game called Coup Shroud of Morrigan, which is a Celt-punk action-adventure. Ireland was ravaged by a techno-magical war and economic collapse.
Okay, I'd ignored that game when I saw it on Steam. Not now.
Celt-punk.
Celt-punk, thank you.
It has an interesting art style, actually. I like the aesthetic. And I have no fucking idea what it is. It actually almost looks like a Diablo-esque sort of style. Oh, wow, you can play it in Irish. There's a full Irish translation of the game.
Wow,
that's part of the feature set right there. Music from Ireland's premier independent electronic artists, folks. This is the most Irish game in fucking history. It's developed by why do I know Bitsmith? Oh, no, I know Bit Composer, not Bitsmith. That sounded really familiar all of a sudden. Huh. Alright, fair enough. They are based in Dublin, obviously, as you might imagine. And they're making the most Irish game ever. And their website is fucking awful. Holy crap. Wow, that looks like it was actually a GeoCities page. Anyway, we won't judge them on that much.
The game looks like it's got moxie.
Yeah, I think so.
Moxie and spunk.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yep.
And grey goo.
Yep.
Lots of
grey goo.
Someone on Twitter reminded me that is an actual term. It's an end-of-the-world scenario. That I've read about this before.
Is it about nanomachines, was it?
Oh. Yeah.
Nanomachines, son!
Will break down organic matter until it's all this homogenized grey goo. Kind of what publishers do to video games these days. So yeah, it's an actual thing. So
still a dumb name.
It still sounds awful.
They should have called it Nanomachines, son. That would have been much better.
The Reckoning.
Reckoning, indeed. I'm so curious about Lichtenstein Battle Mage, but again, it's early access, and I stopped doing videos on that. And I guess I can look at Cloud Built and, of course, Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I will.
Described physical pain attached to playing Yaiba. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it is my goal. I want to be the very best, like no one ever was.
You want to be the Ash Ketchum of Yaiba?
These terrible games will be my test. To critique them is my cause.
Oh shit! Now we're gonna get a song.
How can a woman be? The one thing with Ninja Gaiden Z though, a woman stacked 6 asses high.
That's not even practical.
Even if it was my ass, she'd still be not human proportions.
What does that mean, though? What does stacked 6 asses high mean?
Well, it depends if he's being metaphorical about the ass stacking, or whether he's being literal about the ass stacking, in which case I find the logistics of that setup to be impractical at best. I mean, there's most likely a DLC stepladder available that you can purchase, which will allow you to access all 6 asses in equal fashion. Fucking puerile misogynist bullshit games.
I'm imagining a woman with 6 asses just on top of, like a weird anal centipede. It's not pleasant.
Oh dear God!
I have to live with that now. Thanks, you guys.
I've even tried to look this up in rap lyrics. There's not even a rap song that is as daring as to use the phrase "stacked 6 asses high."
Oh man, there's a game coming out on early access called Fight the Dragon.
Son.
Well, I mean, I suppose it's to the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about fighting the dragon. All right. Well, there's that. Okay. Yeah, so there'll be that. I'll probably put some Hearthstone videos up again. I'm currently playing some gimmicky decks that are very silly and are not remotely competitive, but extremely funny. And since I like money, I will continue to make those videos. There'll be more sale boxes, considering they're putting huge amounts of games on sale on Steam on a daily basis at this point. So you can expect at least a couple of times a week my recommendations. And of course, I'm doing my StarCraft 2 event, Clan Wars. There's actually going to be 3 this weekend. Yeah, I think I may have scheduled 3. That was dumb, wasn't it? But I'm going to be doing 3 Clan Wars, and you're going to be able to find them all over at mlg.tv/shoutcraft. They're the sponsors of the event. They're paying for the whole thing. 60 grand over the course of the year for these teams, which is reason enough to support it, I think. Upcoming events, we've got, let's see, Team Liquid versus MVP, which is happening on the 20th. And Root versus Clan Who on the 22nd, MVP versus Mouse Sports on the 23rd, and EG versus Startail on the 24th. You can check all of those out over at mlg.tv/shoutcraft. There is a button there that says follow. You click that button, it will email you when I go live. It's very, very handy. I would suggest that you use it. And I hopefully will not be streaming any more Deus Ex The Fall, because I'd like to maintain my sanity and my passion for video games, and that game is driving that out of me very, very quickly. You have been watching the Co-optional Misery Cast, ladies and gentlemen. Please do feel free to follow us on Twitter, at Jim Sterling, at Jesse Cox.
I'm quite happy. I don't know what they're talking about.
He had cold fries, so he is fulfilled, both in body and soul.
They were cold!
Check us out on Twitter, folks, at Total Biscuit, and, of course, our YouTube channels at... Well, it's not at. YouTube.com/Jesse Cox, YouTube.com/Total Halibut or /Cynical Brit, whichever you prefer, and YouTube.com/Jim Sterling. And, of course, check out his work over on The Escapist, where you can find his Jimquisition and all manner of other good videos. And just a reminder, if you happen to be in Georgia in the next couple of weeks for some reason, the 28th to the 30th, I will be at GameVid Expo, which is a new con specifically for media producers and fans of those media producers. I will be there alongside other such people as Sly Foxhound, that guy whose name I can never pronounce because it's got too many letters in it, Captain Sparkles, yes, what is it, SSOHP, Jesus, why would you even? Yes, he'll be there. He's a man, he's an exciting man, he will be there. And... oh, wow, apparently I have a panel that's just called Total Biscuit. I didn't know this. Shit. Well, I'm apparently in the Great Room for 45 minutes, and the title of my panel is called Total Biscuit, and they put a fucking space in it again. I'm going to have him. I'm going to have him for that.
I want to fly there just to ask you questions.
By all means.
Sit out in the audience and be like, Mr. Biscuit, and just,
oh, look,
why do you hate
there's
Jesse
a panel called Making It Rain, Monetizing Your Content. Perfect ending for the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching the Co-optional Podcast. We'll see you next time. To hell with it.